Alrighty, Kay, from the Big Egg Joshi Podcast. It is the Red Leaf Retrocast Wrestling Edition, the flagship show, to turn a word that another podcast uses. It is episode 74, New Beginning Starting Point. This episode is coming out on February 1st. We got a lot of previews to go over for major February shows coming up in the next couple weeks, so the next episode is going to be crazy, to say the least. I am your host, JD, host of the Red Leaf Retrocast. Kay, how you doing?
All right, how about yourself, man?
Lots of podcasting to do today, and lots of podcasting ahead for the wrestling sector, as February means lots of new episodes coming out on the Patreon to help with our little historical project that we got going on over there. So if you're into Joshi wrestling, you're into historical stuff, the Patreon is perfect for you. We got our wrestler rankings on the $1.50 tier, along with our very famous and growing Joshi 2010s subject matter as we go through the 2010s, the coming out of the Dark Ages, so you can get those episodes on the $1.50 tier. And if you want them 2 weeks later, you can head on over to the Big Egg Joshi Podcast feed and get those episodes for free. Doesn't cost you a dime. So how's that for a good deal?
Sounds like a swell deal. Even funnier with the 2010 stuff, given how timely it's all kind of looking right now.
Yeah, things are starting to roll around as we get to our agenda here, which I'll run down in a second. If you want to help us out even further with all this tape trading we got to do, getting stuff from Japan and whatnot, join the $5 tier and you get a slew of special episodes, such as my Starcade reviews, which I'm currently doing. Got other things in the work when that's over with. Kay's JD Star reviews, which is quite fun. I enjoyed listening to them. And you can join our Discord. No cost, of course, but you will obviously get to go into a lot of our watch parties and shared drives of all this content. So let's do this agenda here for episode 74. Obviously, February 1st is a new month, so the perfect time to join the Patreon. We're talking some stuff from outside promotions, because our main 7 we go over are AEW New Japan, Dragon Gate, and DDT every single episode. We'll be discussing those promotions. We got our Joshi stuff, Stardom, Tokyo Joshi Pro, and Ice Ribbon. Got some stuff happening there. And then our back end of the podcast, where we do nothing but retro. It is All Japan Women, starting off in 1990. The day has finally come. New Japan through the 90s. We're ending 1994 here pretty soon, heading into 95, so a good time to jump in there. And then our continued journey through WCW Nitro in 1999. Our pain is for your entertainment.
Is it really? I mean, I feel a lot of pain, especially after what we had watched.
Yes, and I do have an announcement to make, Kay.
Oh.
Yes, I have decided to splice out all of the All Japan Women podcasts that we've done and create a sort of learning journey and retrospective, creating a new podcast just for All Japan Women. So when that finally launches and I got enough episodes recorded, that will be launched under a special name. So stay tuned for that. Pay attention to the Twitter at BowlingJD for more special content coming out there. Just a nice little spin-off thing I thought would be a lot of fun to do, especially since most of the audio is already made. You won't have to use the timestamps and go through each of these past Red Leaf Retrocast episodes. But nonetheless, since we're out of the 80s, I thought it would be a perfect time to do something special with that. And if we ever feel like doing more content with it, obviously more content will come out with it, but here on the Red Leaf Retrocast is where the newest ones will come out. So there's the special announcement. You excited, Kay?
I'm really excited, and I might have an announcement in the next coming weeks on my own podcast.
Oh, yeah. Very much looking forward
Look forward to that.
So let's get started with this. We got an Actress Girls title tournament update. What you got for us, Kay?
Yeah. So throughout the coming months, the past couple months, they've been running this tag tournament. It was supposed to happen earlier last year, but obviously COVID happened. I think it was supposed to culminate in their August Korakuen show that ended up not being able to do all of that. But sort of get up to speed, the semifinals had happened over the December and the past show we had watched in January. The finalists are Tehan Mud, Maika Ozaki of Ice Ribbon, and Hikaru Sekiguchi and Miku Aino. And they will be facing each other at the February 11th show, I believe, to decide the first ever tag champions for Actress Girls.
Yeah, a lot of these shows that we're previewing today is around that February 11th date. So just keep that date in mind, because there's a lot of major shows coming out then. I watched the back end of that show with UK, and that Miku Ano Kekaru team is awesome. I really like that team.
Yeah, they're good together. They also play very well off of each other, with Kekaru with the more submission-based stuff and Miku Aino with the kicks and the power a little bit. It definitely worked very well to their advantage in that match, especially because they were facing a rookie and a veteran. So,
yeah, I think as time goes on and promotions start coming back more and more and start getting more of it, I think Actress Girls is probably going to be more featured, or at least in this section of the podcast. Just get some mentions and some breakdowns, especially Kay, since you're a big fan of that promotion, and probably less Seedling going on. We'll get into a little bit why in a bit here. So yeah, I'm a fan of Actress Girls. Nice little simple promotion.
Yeah, they feel like an old Stardom promotion. If you look back to 2018, even 2017 Stardom, that's how they come off to me a lot. And I enjoy that simpler stuff to contrast the other more complicated stuff going on throughout the scene.
Yeah.
You mentioned the roster is very likable.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. So big topic coming around this time around is Impact Wrestling. Promotion we don't talk about too much on this podcast anymore. As opposed to back in the day when we did a lot more Western wrestling. But Impact Hard to Kill was a pay-per-view that happened, and this is prominent because of the ongoing storyline within AEW, with a lot of crossover, mostly the Bullet Club stuff. A story I am very much into, but maybe not hitting home as well as a lot of fans probably. I guess expectations are there with a storyline like this, but nonetheless, I like a lot of the seeds being planted. It's clearly a long-term, slow storyline that is going to play out of going forward in 2021. And while the TV is growing for Impact Wrestling, ratings do support that, especially with Kenny Omega just being on the show. That is what Impact is getting out of this. AEW is getting a lot of the, I think, big-time title matches with utilizing Bullet Club. What this Impact Wrestling, I dive into. I keep up with all the promotions, even WWE, and we'll get to WWE here in a second, because I will be doing a Royal Rumble review on the Patreon $5 tier. So very much looking forward to that, I suppose.
But you hate yourself.
I don't hate myself, Kay. I do it for everyone's entertainment.
And I feel like you're like a little bit of masochism there.
maybe. I won't deny at least a little bit of it. So, what I noticed with Impact Wrestling, and a lot of Western women's wrestling in particular, because Impact has a reputation among at least internet and especially TNA fans, is the Knockouts division is their kind of pride, or at least that's what separates themselves, along with some intergender wrestling, which I'm on record saying intergender wrestling is something Impact could use and separate themselves from everyone. So, there's something I noticed about a good chunk of their roster, specifically the women, is it's filled with a lot of indie veterans that just never really could reach that next level. But there are two young stars there. Third, if you count Kara Hogan, I think time has kind of passed her by. I don't think she's going to get any better and reach that next level. But they have Jordan Grace and they have Deonna Purrazzo, two growing stars. Are they really any better at this point in time than, say, some of the women AEW have? I don't think so. I think what separates Impact is their prominence to show them off more, because they have the time to do that. They don't have as big a roster with big enough stars to overshadow them. So those are their big stars. I think that's what separates them. Is the wrestling better at the end of the day? In a lot of ways, I think it's just as bad or worse. Because I watched a good chunk of this Hard to Kill. I watched all the women's matches, and they were bad. They were actively not very good. They had character work. I will give it to them. But everyone wrestles like they're in quicksand. Go on, Kay.
So I watched these matches with you as well. I tortured myself for a night. I think the difference, and you had mentioned the ages of some of these wrestlers. I think you broke down some of like in their 30s a little bit and stuff like that, and how they were pretty much done, right? And I think I look at that, I'm like, man, that sort of argument sort of mirrors how some people view the scene in Japan, despite that being, I guess, the opposite of the case if we look at the ages and who's on top and who's actually performing at a high level.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder how much of that has to do with the style and training and sort of the conditioning as to why a 30-year-old Western wrestler is pretty much done. Whereas, like, you got Tsukasa Fujimoto pushing her 40s and nothing slowing her down at all. It's weird. I just wonder how much of that has to do with conditioning over here.
I'm not entirely sure I can answer that question, but what I do notice is, I'm a Kimberly fan, but where she falters with me, along with Taya Valkyrie, is they're pretty much at the end of their careers. Their bodies have been gone through a lot. Taya Valkyrie's 37 years old, and her contract is up on this show. And where Impact really fails in booking a lot of the time is their idea to get new stars over and to make stars bigger. And that was very much an issue I saw with the show as a whole. And what was funny to me was, one thing they're doing right now is their X division. That's been day one, their division to separate themselves. Lots of young high flyers that they can start out in the X division, do some really cool matches. I love Ultimate X. I do love that match. And then they can move up in time to the main event scene. Impact's growing issue for many years is their main event scene doesn't get big enough stars, and when they do become big enough, they leave. So Trey Miguel coming back to Impact is very good. He separated himself from the Rascals. The other two went to WWE to be on that very low-end NXT show that's very boring these days. So there's some nice talent there. Chris Bay, Ace Austin. I like these guys, but they're very young into their careers, and I think it would benefit Impact to just put the rocket to these guys and make them larger than life. Because when I looked at this Hard to Kill card, and Eddie Edwards is stuck in his hardcore phase still. It looks like he's just going to be Gene Edwards for the rest of his life. Sami Callihan, he's got a good spot to him. I think they missed on making him a bigger star with him having the title and losing it so quickly. And their 2-year turnaround just isn't long enough for them to make big enough stars for the promotion. The main event was Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers versus Rich Swann, their champion, Chris Sabin, a former champion, and Moose, who had to replace Alex Shelley because of his shoot job, being pretty much a psych doctor, and he can't risk. It was the same reason why he missed a big tour in Germany last year. It was the same reason. Moose ended up coming out. I'm not very high on Moose, but he absolutely took the ball and ran with it during this main event match, and it was very good. I really enjoyed the main event match. I think it still could have reached a next level because that empty arena Impact has running is death. It's a cave.
It's dreadful. It's dreadful. Like I found it hard to even care what's going in front of me because they do all these high spots, and you mentioned like the X division, which I don't know if they separate themselves so much these days given the fact of the style they do. Everyone kind of does now too. But I think even with all the high, cool spots they did, it just fell flat because I'm supposed to get hype, and the commentary is yelling and getting hype, and I'm just like, yeah, but they're like in a basement somewhere.
Yeah, the Nashville basement is a good way. Or I call it the Nashville cave, actually. So until they can kind of get their hands out of that, I did like the new commentary change, D'Lo Brown, and Stryker's hit and miss with me, but I find those two way better than Josh Matthews and what he's been doing. It was time for a change. Moose came out of this match as a guy they can do something with. His TNA title shtick that he's doing, bringing that back, I think that's hitting quite well for Impact. The problem is Impact always finds a way to try to make themselves WWE with low budget.
or bury their champions like they did with Swan on commentary.
The commentary and how they're treating Swan isn't good. I didn't have a problem with Kenny Omega pinning Swan clean because that goes into a much larger story. But at the end of the day, Swan ain't it. He is not that big a star that can reach the next level. I could speak from just watching him in Dragon Gate. He is just not a big enough guy. And honestly, I think Moose, with his TNA thing, I think there's a story there that you can capitalize on Moose coming out of this big trios match, pin Swan, win the title, emerges the TNA title, make it the TNA title again. Who cares at this point? A lot more people know TNA than Impact. And I like the white belt situation. And if Kenny Omega can set up a match with Swan, set up a match with Moose, I think that's a much bigger match. Because when I really look at the landscape of what Impact has, they're going to have to build stars. They really do. They are not big enough to compete with AEW. And there is a reason why people look at Impact in this Invasion storyline as not hitting well enough. So I agree with AEW with how they're booking it and the presentation of Impact being, it's really all about Bullet Club. It's not so much about Impact. It's about the Bullet Club. So I do agree with this way they're going about it. Do you agree, Kay? Because I don't see any other alternative they could possibly do.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree, because you can't do Team TNA versus Team AEW because one of them feels like a C-level show, whereas at the very least, AEW feels like a B+ to A+ show, depending on the sort of week-to-week show sometimes. Sometimes they have some duds, sometimes they have some great shows. But they feel much bigger, and they have much bigger stars and bigger presentation.
Right.
And it just... and I think I would have less of an issue with Swan being pinned if commentary just wasn't burying him. He's your champion. And you're giving out about accolades from Kenny Omega and dismissing Swan, saying he's not up to snuff, I think was one of the comments that was made compared to Kenny. I'm like, who's your champion? What team are you on?
See, I'll counteract that. So here's my retort to that. Kenny Omega's the bigger star. And for all intents and purposes, he is part of Impact Wrestling. He is not some dude that's coming in, beating your champion, and leaving. He is a regular part of that show. So, as far as I'm concerned, Kenny Omega, this storyline of Kenny Omega fucking off to Impact and leaving AEW, he is a representative of Impact at this point. Not technically, of course, and if we're shooting at it, if you will. But in kayfabe, he is an Impact guy, and he's going to be representing Impact going forward. And
has he wrestled? Has he wrestled on Impact's daily, weekly show yet outside the pay-per-view?
No, but he's a prominent regular feature on it, whether he's hanging out in the bus backstage, he's talking with Don Callis. He is a regular character. Him wrestling is a special feature to build up Impact. And we can pull up ratings. They're right with there, and it's growing. They're getting their biggest ratings, and the growth is in 18 to 49. So there are ratings that are backing this up. He is not just a one-off guy.
Who watches Tuesdays? I don't watch Tuesdays.
Attacking me right now. He's probably all mad. What are you making fun of Impact for?
Why are you mentioning Impact? Who watches TNA anymore? Where's Jeff Jarrett?
Oh, don't even start with that comparison. All right.
No, I don't think Impact's that big of a deal. I guess the numbers are backing them up, but it definitely feels like a Bullet Club or people that were in New Japan prior matter more than the people in Impact matter.
Well, that's the story at the end of the day, and I think they're doing about as well as one possibly can do. I think a lot of fans...
That is the correct story, too. It's the correct story, because, again, Impact's wrestlers feel like nothing. They feel like indie guys that barely make a blip on the radar.
Yeah, and they have Matt Hardy and Private Party going over there and beating the one-time appearance of James Storm. So they're creating an AEW invasion. They have constantly Tony Khan and Shivani and company doing nice little infomercials, putting down Impact. I am totally okay with this, because in this storyline, in terms of Impact, AEW are the heels, and everybody in AEW is heels. So if you're an Impact fan, you hate AEW. And as you and I are AEW fans, we hate Impact.
I never cared for Impact to begin with, but I've seen the narrative on the other side be a little bit less kayfabe, where they hate the fact that AEW's come in and ruined their precious Impact.
Yeah,
Seen that narrative pop up here.
Yeah, well, I don't know how much further in the basement Impact can go. You know what I mean? So
I mean, they can get a drill and find out.
At the very least, I'm paying closer attention to Impact than I ever have. Hell, I watched this Hard to Kill pay-per-view almost the whole way through. I skipped through matches because they did, that hardcore match with Callahan just didn't do anything for me. So yeah, it's about as good as it can be. I'm okay with this, but there is another promotion here that's really, I think, just faltered back to their old ways, and that's Seedling.
Oh boy, yeah. You talk about just remember how we started this, or at least when I came in, how I was starting to talk about how, man, Seedling feels fresh. Feel great.
Yeah, let's do a cut back to last summer. They're coming out of the shutdown period from the coronavirus. Nene Takahashi's hurt. She's still out with injury. So that left Arisa versus Asuka for a title match. A fresh new main event opponent. The big story with Yoshiko paid off. And then Yoshiko and the best friends and company ran through the rest of the year. Yoshiko had one defense with Aja Kong. This all feels mostly fresh for the most point. The problem that we've come across, I've kind of taken your steam on this, Kay. I apologize, but
you're fine.
We cut immediately back to December. Nene comes back, and what happened?
It feels like Seedling again, in the worst way possible. It feels like it's the Nanae Takahashi show. Everyone's just kind of in it. I hate that because that's what she does whenever she appears in anything. Go watch Stardom when she was around. It always felt like it was the Nanae Takahashi show. Even when she didn't have the belt, she was in the main events. She was in the main angles. She was all over the place. The life of me cannot stand Nanae Takahashi. I get she's a decent wrestler. I would say a good wrestler. Right? She can get a good match out of people, but she always puts herself higher than I think she's ever should have been. She's not a legend. She's a mid-carder that got pushed because of who she knew. That's all. That's how I viewed her for years now.
Yeah, there was a tag match, the best friends versus Sari and Yoshiko. And what ended up happening is Sari gets pinned, and Nene gets on the mic, kicks Tsukasa out of the... First, this was a title match, and then it was revoked into just a tag match in the main event. And don't get me wrong.
The original graphics they put up for the Korakuen show, obviously you would have a title match on a Korakuen show, so it made sense. The best friends versus Sari and Yoshiko for the tag belts. And then, like, a day later, they changed it.
Right. So don't get me wrong. The Seed main events are good wrestling matches. I don't deny this. They're fun vacuum style tag and main event matches, right? But as soon as you start thinking about the booking, that's where it really falters. And Kay, you agree with me on this, right?
Right. So a little funny thing that was mentioned when we were watching the Seedling main event, right? The tag main event. Tucker of 4W,
yes,
and Wrestling Observer had said something. He's like, "Man, Seedling has really nice, fun tag main events." It reminded me of something. That was how everyone spoke about Sendai in 2018.
Yeah,
and look where that went. Sendai's bad booking. Like, oh yeah, they have really good, fun tag main events, and then you look into the booking, and whoa, I think we're starting to get flashbacks to that. At least I am.
No, I don't disagree with that at all. Because how many times can you possibly see the same just 4 people go at it? And this is a detriment to the booking of Seedling. Because you never, like, in what world, what promotion would have so much access to a wrestler like, I'm just throwing it out there, Asuka, right? And no matter what card, she's just kind of putzing about in the mid card 9 out of 10 times. Right. What's very much aggravating about this is the fact that you and I, Kay, know Nene's history and a lot of the veteran history in Joshi in general, and what spoke more to this than Takahashi coming in, kicking Tsukasa out of the next match, and just inserting herself, forgetting essentially this multi-year storyline with Arisa. And then we find out that Sari, we'll get more into Sari a little bit later, Sari doesn't get pinned because she's going to WWE, she's going to retirement. And Nene uses this opportunity more as a fact to pin the champion, which is, of course, going to set up a title match with her, and it wouldn't shock us if she just wins it outright.
I bet she will. Given the booking since she's come back, I'd bet more money on Yoshiko not retaining, and I hate that idea. Nanai does not need the belt. Does not need to be in the scene for the belt. She should just be the veteran presence there, hoisting up her protege. Yoshiko's her protege. Her protege finally got the time to shine. She's going to kick her back down because fuck you, it's the Nanai show.
Yeah. We'll get into Seedling and Stardom more when we get into the Stardom section of the podcast. So this really feels like Seedling has reverted back to its old ways, and the more time that once Budokan passes, I think we're just going to be checking in on an occasional, main event that gets good buzz, but really breaking it down and saying other than, yeah, the match was good. Otherwise, we're just going to be really complaining about the booking and very much back to its old ways. So that's kind of why Actress Girls is more interesting right now, is a tag title tournament, seeing people move up and down the card, seeing fresh faces. This is what makes a promotion interesting, and Seedling for me just doesn't do that.
Right, I've been championing to you the greatness that is Actress Girls, and telling you that wrestlers like Misamatsui and even Mari and Ayumi, they're all moving up the card, making big moves, and Hikaru Shimizu's having this whole story with Saki where she's trying to redeem herself, as maybe wants to take over the mantle as leader of the Colors faction, and all this really good shit that's happening there. I'm enjoying a lot of it. Obviously, Takase's runs to the top. Miku Aino being positioned as a top wrestler, being pushed up the card. It's more refreshing than Seedling's doing right now with its 4 wrestlers and most of it being about Nanai Takahashi.
Yeah, it's the Nene show at the end of the day. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get into the meat of the podcast here as I play. I feel like I just got to play Hikaru Shida's music. It's been too long, Kay. Been too long. Time for AEW. All right, just making my little notes here. AEW last couple weeks. One, I don't want to call it a bad show, but it was definitely below average by all means. A lot of messy spots in times. And then last week's show, the go-home show for Beach Break. What did you think, Kay? What stood out to you? What's not maybe standing out? What's hitting? What's not hitting? What do you got?
So that first show you mentioned, the one that was kind of a miss for them, that was probably the worst episode of AEW I think I had watched. I went back and rewatched parts of it. I was like, man, none of this is clicking. It's sloppy. The Peter Avalon match went way longer than it ever had to go. It's a big criticism I have, to the point where I think it took it away from the main event. They had to rush things. Jericho landing on his face was concerning. I mean, granted, I didn't think he lost it or anything, but it definitely he was rushing. So obviously you make mistakes when you're rushing. But the second show was good. I think the only thing that's not clicking with me is this Shaq, James Cargill, and Cody and Red Velvet story. None of that's clicking with me. Because when I think AEW stories, they all feel kind of organic, right? They build upon each other, right? You got the stuff with Moxley and Kenny right now. You got stuff with Hangman and Kenny, and the Bucks and Kenny, and the Bucks and FTR, and even like the stuff with Private Party and Hardy. Like all it kind of feels like it's revolving, that organic growth of a story, whereas this stuff with Cody and Shaq just feels so forced.
Well, at the very least, so the two shows are January 20th and January 27th. Okay. Yeah, the January 20th show, it was just very sloppy in a lot of areas, and the booking's not bad. It just nothing seemed to hit right. A lot of things just missed. The matches, were very indie-rific at times, and with a lot of the young talent they're putting on TV, that's par for the course. It's a big risk. And I'm going to say this a couple more times on this podcast. AEW has balls putting young talent on TV the way they are. They really do. And the only way
I give them that.
Yeah, and the only way people can get better is to gain experience. So they kind of have to do it, and they are trying to put these guys in with a lot of veterans to kind of rein them in, and sometimes it gets a little out of control. The best example I can put out there was the match with Matt Hardy, Private Party, and Matt Sydal and Top Flight. You have Hardy and Sydal in there trying to keep the two young tag teams together, and it just fell apart at times. And you put that in there with the match of Cody Rhodes and Avalon. I think that's one of the worst matches I've seen in AEW, just from something put together. I do put those
the worst
below.
Book match.
Yeah, I think
it's probably the worst book match I've seen from them.
Absolutely. Like, why is that going through a commercial? I get the whole low blow thing. Didn't work no matter what. And they are still doing a lot of feel-good moments, such as the -1 birthday party thing. That's just classic wrestling. Puts a smile on your face. I enjoyed that. Goofy, sure. No harm done. And it started off the show very nice. It had the big moment with Adam Page, and he's saying no, and Silver's on his knee like he's proposing to join the Dark Order.
That stuff is good. Like, I enjoy a lot of the shows. I just, that one show was a kind of pretty much of a dud, but like, those are organic stories, right? Those are building upon things. I'm not feeling the Shaq Cody stuff. I'm not feeling one bit of it.
Yeah, at the very least, I understand why they're using Cody and why Cody's being utilized the way he is. He needs something to do, right? He can't challenge for the world title because of the stipulation he put on himself from losing. And then the TNT title is Darby's right now with the Sting story and Team Taz, which I really like, by the way. I think as soon as Sting got physically involved, they put the pedal to the metal, and now we got a good build for Revolution with the street fight. I like that story.
Got a question.
Sure.
Got a question. Wasn't the story originally Cody, Darby, and then Sting would come in later, right? Why can't Cody be involved in I mean, it's 3-on-3. Wouldn't that be the more fair fight? Team Taz has got 3 people. Cody, Darby, and Sting would be a team.
I think with the Shaq...
It wasn't the story originally, so I don't know why you would do the Shaq stuff all of a sudden.
I think it hinted as a story originally, and I think because they got Shaq booked, that they pivoted towards Cody doing the celebrity thing, because he's got the Go Big show situation. Cody's being used to be the celebrity guy. And I can understand this, because AEW still needs... AEW, no matter what, still needs some sort of household name being made. And the uses of celebrities, whether I like it or not, or whether you like it or not, unfortunately, it needs to be done for AEW to grow. At least from a name value. And getting in there with Shaq and Cody, and let's be honest, Brandy Rhodes getting out of this match is probably the best thing that could have happened for this match. Using Red Velvet, building a new young star, she cut a hell of a promo. She was the focus of that promo.
Yeah, I think so. I think the weaknesses from this and the strengths from it. I get why, I get why they're using Shaq. I went back and watched that promo with Brandy, the little sit down thing. Shaq didn't say anything bad about Cody. He was like, "Oh, I was just joshing with them. I was just joking with them. You know how Twitter gets." So like when Brandy threw water, I was like, "Oh yeah." So Cody and Brandy are supposed to be the heels in this, but then it pivots. And we got Shaq saying, "Oh, he's a punk, and I don't get how they're booking this. I don't like it. It feels very inorganic. I don't want to see Shaq wrestle, even if I get why they're putting him there. Like, I'd rather him just be at ringside, for Christ's sake, like they did with Mike Tyson. I don't want to see him wrestle. And Jane Cargill, they need to show us something with her before this show. She's not wrestling at all.
Okay.
I want to see a squash match or something from her.
I'll meet you halfway. I think there needs to be a video package for Cargill, because you aren't the only one saying this. I don't want to see her wrestle in the ring, even with a squash match, because her wrestling at this point is a draw. Okay? What they should do, though, is give you a taste. So get like a video package of her in the ring doing some feats of strength kind of situation. I think that would go a long way to at least giving some confidence with the wrestling fan that she is capable of giving us something special or unique in the ring.
Right, because at this point, if she wrestles and it sucks, it's just gonna deflate everything.
I think this match is so interesting to me because Cody has a big task, let's face it, of putting this match together in a way to highlight two young future potential women stars and then trying to get the best out of Shaq. This match is very interesting to me just from a perspective on how it's going to be put together. It could be a total disaster, or it could be a raging success into getting some monicum of mainstream publicity and getting over these two young stars. What was a resounding success was the match with Jungle Boy versus Dax Harwood of Efter. This match was fucking awesome, and it built up Jungle Boy to give you the confidence that this dude is going to be a big fucking deal in the future.
Oh yeah, no, I was shocked. Like, I don't remember ever seeing Jungle Boy wrestle that well. I think I always remember him just being in tags and stuff, and kind of think, oh yeah, he's okay. He's just kind of blended in with the rest of the group, kinda. And boy, this match was great. Jesus Christ. He should be the next TNT champion. Screw Cage or the Starks. Just put the belt on Jungle Boy. Get your big baby face over.
See, I like what they're doing with Jungle Boy. They're not strapping a rocket to him. The dude's only 23 years old. He has a long way to grow, and there's just a few other guys that are just above him. Darby's one of them, obviously the current TNT champion. Ricky Starks is absolutely there already. Sammy Guevara. The list goes on. There's a lot of... MJF is another one, but he's already at the main event level, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, definitely. I think he should get an AEW title run sooner than later. I think he'll get one.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it, because he's the future along with Adam Page. I actually had a thought about where to go with Adam Page, especially with the Matt Hardy kind of trying to recruit him into his little team. I think Adam Page should join Matt Hardy. Don't turn heel, but he accepts the fact that Matt Hardy has his connections, and Adam Page goes over and wins the Impact title.
Ooh.
And that could play into the big Kenny Omega storyline some more.
Ooh.
It's a little fantasy booking there, but that was just something that occurred to me that they could do to raise the star value of Impact. And Adam Page, he's not doing much on AEW Dynamite right now. He could raise the value of Impact Wrestling, and that opens up a nice little spot on AEW as well.
So, question: What's AEW's big pay-per-view? Like, what's their biggest one of the year typically?
There's two of them. There's Double or Nothing, and then All Out after the summer.
All right, but which one would you consider to be the one that should have the bigger match on it? They picked one of the two.
I think All Out. I think All Out's their biggest one, and their second biggest one is Double or Nothing, which comes after Revolution here. So there's a lot. There's a lot they can do.
I think. I have an idea because I've been thinking about where this Kenny Hangman story, how long this should be drawn out before they actually meet the ring again. I think Double or Nothing's a perfect time for them to do that. I think you could have Hangman win the title. You could have Kenny not want to face him, want to face the title and try to find ways around that by maybe having triple threat matches or fatal four ways. But each time Adam Page wins, leading to the frustration, and eventually he's like, screw it, I'll fine, we'll face each other in singles matches. Afterward, he's afraid he's afraid of Hangman becoming a good wrestler and being just as good as him. He sees him as a tag wrestler. He's a nothing. He's a nobody. Have him come out of that and have it be spooky. Have it spook Kenny.
Yeah, getting a little, fantasy booking wise here, but it is definitely something they could do. I think they could utilize Impact to pull guys away from AEW. That's kind of where I'm going with all this, and I get the feeling this is what they're doing. And in response, you're getting the guys like the Good Brothers and possibly some others to show up on Dynamite. So it's a good little trade-off of talent there. And speaking of which, that main event, I was a big fan of that. All of the Dark Order are super baby faces now. I love it. They're a lovable group of fools, and they need a strong leader or someone rises above in the Dark Order and becomes that So I like the Young Bucks, Good Brothers, kind of not true dissension storyline, but they're very standoffish. The Young Bucks aren't being stupid, which is why they're going into the Battle Royal. They hinted at challenging for the Impact titles. Could lead to something. I'm looking forward to that. And the last AEW note I want to mention is the women's division. The Britt Baker, look, the week prior, Penelope Ford versus Layla Hirsch was a bad match. I think Penelope Ford lost a lot of weight heading into this whole wedding thing. I could give two shits about this whole wedding angle. Luckily, it's just stuck in the under mid-card area. Fine, whatever. Does no harm. It's there. But Britt Baker versus Shauna was an important match to me because Shauna has looked a little gun-shy. Or not Shauna. Britt Baker has looked a little gun-shy. She needed a strong match and showing like this to go into Beach Break versus Thunder Rosa, and I think this match accomplished exactly what it needed to.
I think so as well. I think I did see a little bit of that gun shyness, especially early in the match with Britt. I don't know how much of that she's still over, but I think she's at least made enough progress to where it's not taking away from the match as much as it had prior. It was like pretty much just taking out of the match each time because you can tell she didn't want to hit her moves properly, right, or she was hesitating. I saw a little bit of that in this match, but not enough to be more concerned. I feel like maybe if she has maybe one or two more matches, whether it be on Dark or just practicing, I feel like she'll be okay.
And that kind of leads into the Eliminator tournament for the women. Eight people representing wrestling. This is more or less confirmed at this point, Kay. So hear me out. The left side of the bracket are going to be people wrestling in the United States, hence the American bracket. So it's kind of what we originally thought. And then the Japanese side of the bracket are 8 women wrestling on Japanese soil. Naturally, there'll be more Japanese. So Riho is going to be wrestling on the U.S. bracket side because she's wrestling in the United States. Give me 3 names you would like to see represent AEW's Japanese soil side.
So, given that I think this is going to be pretty much just TJPW with a little bit of Gato move,
sure.
I could throw out the obvious TJPW names, but I'm going to go 3 Gato move names at least, or 2 Gato move names and maybe 1 TJPW. I think we'll see Emmy, obviously, right?
Obviously, yeah. I think that's a lock.
May Saruga.
I think that's also a lock.
I want to see Unamon.
Interesting.
I want to see Yuna Mizumori. I think I want to see her. And as for TJPW, I mean, Miya Yamashita needs to show up. If she doesn't win the tournament, I'm going to be a little upset on that one. I think she and Shida would be a fantastic match that they'd be crazy not to book. I can see Ito being in it. I see Ito being in it, but I don't think Ito wins it, and I don't think Ito could even come over to the States right now.
Oh, wow. What would that would be an interesting little rematch for Ito and Yamashita, is in the AEW Women Eliminator Tournament, and Ito loses again.
They could do that. I can see them doing that, but I think it's going to be more Miyu and Shoko or something like that. I think they're going to do something where it's a name that the people in AEW already recognize, and Miyu to kind of put Miyu over a little bit.
Oh, absolutely. But I think that this is very interesting to me. I'll give you a name I want to see in this bracket. Asuka. Venny.
Venny?
Yeah.
I'd like to see her get more exposure too. I just don't know how
she's a freelancer.
She's a freelancer.
Open contract.
She wrestles a lot in the Gambare, so she could swing that because she is there relatively frequently, as much as Yuna Monase was signed there. I can see them doing that.
It's just a name to think about and throw out there. I mean, yeah, you could Gato move wrestlers, and this better be in a fucking ring, and not the dentist office.
Oh yeah, no, God, no! You put Mei Saruga, Unamon, and Emmy in a ring. If you're doing it in the dentist office, then get the fuck out of here with that, please. Yeah, I like it. It's fine where it's at, but it does not need to be in a tournament. No,
it does not need to be in a tournament and not being plugged on Dynamite. Like, get that shit out of here. Like,
that would tank those. That would immediately bury all 3 of them in front of the AEW audience because they don't understand. They don't get it. They won't get that stuff.
Dude, I watch it and I enjoy it, but I still don't get it.
I watch it. I enjoy it. I get it, and I realize that you have to have a certain kind of mindset for wrestling to understand it and be okay with it. Yeah. Definitely not something you put in front of a general audience who's never been exposed to shit like this.
No. So some storylines that are just continuing are the Inner Circle stuff with MJF. Very enjoyable. I really liked this last week's episode of Dynamite. It was very good. Eddie Kingston, Lance Archer started the show off hot. They beat the shit out of each other. That was cool. A fuck finish in AEW, which we don't see hardly at all. So I like the knuckle duster spot. It was very NWA. A lot of this show was booked like an NWA show with modern wrestling in it. So
it felt like it was back on track, especially compared to the last week.
Especially after the week prior. Absolutely. Beach Break has Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. Very much looking forward to that. Very curious. We got the main event, which is an excellent looking trios match between Omega and the Good Brothers versus Pac, Moxley, and Rey Fenix. I am hyped AF for that one. So Beach Break looking as well, and I'm very much looking forward to how they come out of that show and build towards Revolution, as the only match we know of that's been announced is the street fight with Sting and Darby being hoodlums. It's showtime. Okay, that's AEW. Let's speed this along because we got New Japan to talk about as we continue our little Bishonen section here. So let's see. Drop. Are you elevated, Kay?
Not high enough yet, no.
Not high enough yet. Well, I played Will Ospreay's music because he's put in a hell of a performance over the last few weeks. It's been Road to New Beginning. I've kept up with the storylines. I've popped in on a match here or there. It's very much a lot of skippable Korakuen shows in general. They're doing this weird Naito Honma feud, which is very strange. Naito coming out of the titles, and Okada's with Evil, so that can fuck right off. No interest there.
Jesus Christ, I was just getting excited about Okada. Come on now.
Yeah, the Shingo Tanahashi feud, very cold to me because of the way Shingo was very much trying to get something out of Tanahashi with promos and whatnot, and then Tanahashi's just like, I'm just gonna win this thing and use it as a stepping stone to get back into the main event. So that kind of didn't rub me the right way. It rubbed me the wrong way. And then something that's really hit very well is the Tenkoji, that's Tenzan and Kojima, versus the Empire, Great-O-Khan and Will Ospreay. That shit has been old school awesome. Every single match they come out, they're just balls to the wall fighting, interrupting each other's entrances, DQ finishes, count-out finishes. It's very old school awesome where it's just four dudes want to beat the hell out of each other. Because they did that great angle at New Year Dash, where Okan and company just took out Tenzan's stretcher job and everything, and Kojima's not happening to it. And we'll get into New Beginning in Nagoya here in a second, because I thought that show was a lot of fun. Sanada Ibushi is colder as ice, could care less. Hey, Japanese fans like Sanada. I don't anymore. He just doesn't do anything for me. I think they've really missed the boat on building up Sanada and Ibushi. And then there was basically talking over the Oda Ward show at this point, if you couldn't tell. The junior heavyweight tag title match of Desperado and Kanemaru versus Phantasmo and Ishimori was, I lost count how many ref bumps, low blows, loaded boots, whiskey bottle shots. It was the most absurd heel versus heel matchup you've ever seen, to the point where the audience was laughing, and I think that's what they were going for. What'd you think of that match, Kay?
I thought it was very old school. Yeah, no, I agree.
Okay.
I don't have a whole. I didn't get the stories going into most of these, so I kind of just watched the matches, and the match was good. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, as long as you go in with the mind that this is going to be just shenanigans galore, then I think you'll come out fine. But if you wanted something more than that, I think you'll hate that. But New Beginning Nagoya was a fantastic show. They continued the whole Honma Naito thing, Okada Evil thing, so those were your two undercard matches. Well, whatever at this point. It was just a 2-0 matches. But then we got into
the about Okada too.
Yeah.
It deflates me.
So then we got into the meat of the card. Starts off with Okan Tenzan. Loser can no longer use the Mongolian chop. It was nice seeing Tenzan get a nice little spot out here. Okan's music hits, he comes out. Tenzan just attacks him on the ramp, and they go to work. They go like, no, I'm sorry. Tenzan came out, and Okan attacked him on the ramp, so it was a reversal of roles there. I apologize. And they just had a nice, simple little bull meaty match. It's about as good as you can get out of Tenzan. Tenzan loses. He can no longer use the Mongolian chop. I thought it accomplished everything it needed to. Okan has beaten a veteran and taken one of his signature moves. Look, Tenzan's on retirement road here. You're not going to get a lot of mileage out of him at this point in his career, but he means a lot to New Japan's history and the fans. So Okan gets a big rub, big victory here. Really gets his heat back after losing to both Okada and Tanahashi. Tanahashi at Wrestle Kingdom. And we'll get into an angle at the end of the show, which I am very much in agreement with, because look, New Japan likes the whole loser gets booked upwards momentum. That's the way they book about things. Could be a little bit of obnoxious to people, but it works for New Japan. So the match that followed,
I enjoyed this one.
Kay. You enjoyed it?
No, I'm sorry. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot. I apologize when you were talking about the El Phantasmo match. My brain was thinking about the Will Ospreay match later because you said shenanigans. Like, oh yeah, I enjoyed that. No, this match was good. I didn't see a lot from Okan. I think I watched that Tanahashi match, was kind of like on him. I liked this. He came off like a bull, like a monster, like you said, and it was really good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. The Will Ospreay Satoshi Kojima match, like, dude, Satoshi Kojima's 50 years old. He's a former double champion of the Triple Crown and IWGP title. This dude at this point in his career could be Easy Street at this point, right? But this guy had a good match with Kenta at Wrestle Kingdom, got the call upon, and now he has this match with Ospreay, no DQ, no rules. Like, we're going to talk about another no DQ, no rules match later. And this one was, vastly exceeded my expectations. Ospreay bumped, he threw his body for Kojima on the line, and Kojima was no slack. He took this wild corner table bump, power bomb from Ospreay, and Ospreay took a big lariat off the top of the turnbuckle through a ladder draped across the apron and table. Holy shit. This match was so much fun. Kojima, you get big bonus stars in my point. I was not expecting it to be this much fun and awesome. And Ospreay gets a big win over a veteran. Dude, the Empire reigns supreme here, coming out of Wrestle Kingdom, in which they both lost. So they got some good, heavy wins over veterans here at New Beginning in Nagoya. Nagoya is a factory of sadness if you're rooting for baby faces.
I mean, it seems to be the case, right? No, I enjoyed a lot of this match. I was popping for spots. I mean, that ladder spot especially. I was like, holy shit, Ospreay just killed himself.
Yeah.
Because how he bumped into it, like how he took that bump was like, woo, come on, Ospreay, your back is going to be hurting tomorrow, ain't it?
It was easily the best feuds in the company, was this Empire Tenkoji thing. It really was the highlight of the entire tour, and it culminated here on this show. Big thumbs up booking here. Big thumbs up stories, and the matches that came out of it. It was great, and my computer just flickered there for a second, making sure everything's still working.
I can still hear you, don't worry.
Okay. And then the main event, Tanahashi trying to get the open weight title from Shingo. Main event that went over 30 minutes. Okay, my pants need to change it after this one.
My drywall was gone. I enjoyed this. It didn't even feel like 30 minutes, which I was like, oh boy. Because when I think I was watching it in chat with Omega, and I was like, how long has this match been going? It's been going like 30 minutes, right? Like, I don't know. And then they called 30 minutes. I was like, oh, right as I had said that, I was like, oh, wow. I only guessed 30 minutes because I looked at my clock and realized a lot of time had passed. I didn't feel like it.
Utter fantastic match. Just two meaty I mean, this is like a Dreamgate scenario for me. Dragon Gate champion of Shingo versus the ace of New Japan in Tanahashi. They met, man, I can only imagine. Like, this was a 5-star match as far as I'm concerned. Like, I didn't even have to think twice about it. But just imagine, like, what this match could have been 5 years ago. Oh, they would have killed each other.
Their pants and the wall would need changing. I liked the leg work in this match. The selling of the knee, especially on Tanahashi's end. Like, he kept struggling to get him up for the scream and shout. And then, like, you had Shingo struggling to get his lariats, his pumping lariats.
Yeah, he couldn't get his full force behind it because Tanahashi was dragon screwing him to death. There was a neat little spot, I think, midway through the match where he attempts a dragon screw. Shingo holds the ropes, so he's able to spin out of it, in a way. Then he runs, but he's hobbling because his leg's been worked the whole time, his knee. And he misses the down lariat shot. And Tanahashi gets him back in a dragon screw and twists again. Oh, it was moves like this throughout the entire match that just flowed oh so well. It was paced just... I mean, you want to talk about two consummate professionals being at the top of their game. Big match Tana comes through again. His hair never moves a dime. A thread never is out of place in this match somehow. There's a move where Shingo hits the last of the dragon. Just spikes Tanahashi right on his head. Scare the hell out of me. Tanahashi fights back. High fly flow. This dude wins the open weight title. This is easily my match of the year at this point. It eclipsed the Okada-Ospreay match from Wrestle Kingdom. This was utter fantastic, and they did an angle after the match after he air guitars the new title of his. He's very happy. He won it. Big celebration. Okan attacks this dude. He wants revenge for his loss at Wrestle Kingdom. He's coming off his big win over Tenzan, stole the Mongolian chop. He wants to take out he wants revenge. It's a simple story. He lost at Kingdom. He got a big win. He wants the openweight title. He's not going in the main event scene, so he's not. I don't see this as losing up. I think he's just Tanahashi's at a mid level. What I hope this culminates in is two things. Okan wins the title from Tanahashi, so then Tanahashi can lose up back into the main event scene, puts over Okan, right? So Okan gets a nice little mid card title to start his big push. He needs to win that match. So a short little title reign. Look, Tanahashi's bulletproof at this point in his career. He could lose tomorrow. Nothing wrong will happen. A short title reign is fine. It's the open weight title. That opens up a lot of scenarios where Okan can face juniors and get some big wins, etc. And I hope this leads to Shingo getting either an IC title match or a double title match, and he moves into a bigger main event role. That's what I hope we get coming out of this.
Okay, shoot your hopes up. Remember, people you root for always end up falling short.
I'm well aware, but if I can get title matches, he doesn't need to win the titles. I just want title matches. Gives me at least some satisfaction of seeing him in a big main event picture.
Right. No, I enjoyed a lot of this match. I'm a bit back and forth on whether I'd consider it better than Ospreay Okada. I think just because I was suffering through the Okada stuff for so long. Seeing him not hit his stuff through the entirety of the G1 and being very upset with it. The fact that he finally hit it was like an explosion of frustration and me being happy for that moment. I popped pretty hard for that. So I wonder if it's because I can't take that feeling away from that match. And I feel like I still put that just a little bit above the Shingo Tana match.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They're both excellent 5-star matches, so I don't think it takes away from either of them.
Right. So we got the rest of the New Beginning tour to finish out here, which we'll be covering on the next podcast episode. Obviously, Sonata Ibushi being the big match there to look forward to. And yeah, without further ado, let's quickly go over a nice little Dragon Gate. I play Bokutomo Dragon. If I can find the drop. Where is it? There we go. Get my timestamps here so I don't have to bother with a bunch later.
While you do that, JD, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Down with Team Boku.
I am down with Team Boku. Absolutely down with Team Boku. You know who else I'm down with? The Ray formation of Natural Vibes.
How's the Ultimate Dragon being in Team Boku?
So Natural Vibes held tryouts. Don Fuji and Punch Tominaga failed with flying colors. Don Fuji really tried his hardest out there in his whatever the male version of a kimono is.
It was I don't think you're supposed to wear that when you dance.
No. But he was really funny. UT and Takedo Kamai, they do pass as backup dancers because obviously KZ and company didn't want Dragon Kid to one-up them.
And boy, did he one-up them. That man was a one-man show over there doing all kinds. He was breakdancing. Dragon Kid breakdanced. He did all sorts of moves. He did a damn rowboat.
I don't know how you couldn't put Dragon Kid in Natural Vibes after he pulled off the rowboat flying colors.
But he's already turned heel. He's already turned heel.
Yeah, something's up with KZ. I no matter how much time passes with this Natural Vibes thing, KZ's turning heel at some point. I just feel it.
All right, this whole Natural Vibes thing feels kind of temporary, right?
Right. I think it's a holding pattern. A holding pattern for a bigger story, yeah. So, a couple other stories that's going on. Of course, the RED dissension and among other things. It was revealed that Kaito Ishida is going to be the next challenger for the Dreamgate title. Very excited for old Kickboy here getting a main event shot. That's really cool.
Excited for that. Shun Skywalker and him would be great.
Yeah, that was revealed. And there was, we'll be covering on the next episode, is the number one contender Twin Gate tournament. And I have the teams here. Yokosuka and Genki Horiguchi, I believe, are a team. Oh, here we go. Oh, they are not a team, it seems. It seems Team Boku is not in the tag title tournament. This seems wrong.
What? That seems like the travesty. Lies.
Yeah.
They screwed Team Boku.
Kamai, I think, got injured, so Don Fuji replaced Kamai as partner with UT, and if that team wins the tournament, Don Fuji is in Natural Vibes. So I like that little bit of extra storytelling there. Yamato and Dragon Kid are a team, and that kind of goes. I have a feeling that's going to end in DQ because RED is all up in Yamato and Dragon Kid's business like nobody's business.
Oh yeah, there's a whole thing going on with Dragon Kid and people not threatening for him not to be part of anyone's group. So it makes me really wonder: Dragon Kid turned heel? You think they turned Dragon Kid heel?
No, because he's caught up in the storyline of Dragon Kid versus SB Kento, and Yamato still has his issues with BB Hulk and Kai. So those teaming together makes that screams to me DQ finish upon RED coming in.
I get that, but do you think Dragon Kid might be the other Demon Mask?
It's possible, I suppose. And they're just, I mean, we did see the Yamato Dragon Kid match that went a while that ended in DQ and continue that story along. KZ with UT go into a draw, which was a very good match. And that plays into the storyline of KZ turning heel because he just can't get it done alone. So, oh yeah, Saito and Dragon is the team. First round. Masaki Mochizuki and Kohai Yoshida.
Senpai.
That's funny. Shuji Kondo and Ben K. They gotta be the favorites to win this thing, right?
Oh, yeah, hands down. Like, if they don't, it'd be kind of weird if they didn't win. That's a pretty strong team right there.
Yeah. Interesting, Ben K. I believe this will be his first match coming back since the Dreamgate match where he got knocked the fuck out. So, see, I'm sure his body's changed yet again.
Right, he's gonna be even more bronze and probably even more jacked. Probably has blonde hair now too.
Could go either way. Kagatora, Santa Maria, that's an interesting tandem. Eita Diamante, I like that team. And then Jason Lee and La Estrella. I like that team too. I see Jason Lee and Estrella kind of going far.
I kind of want Estrella and Lee to win. Kind of want that to be the ones that win. I feel like that would be a much more fun team to watch, be more fresh. I could see the Ben K team winning.
Yeah, so it's a 2-day tournament, I believe, where the 30th or the 31st will have the first day with a lot of the tournament, and the second day will have will culminate with the winners. I'm kind of shocked that there isn't an SB Kento team to be honest. But I guess he's in the storyline with Dragon Kid, and they can do other things with him, which I guess is fine.
All right, I just want to mention why I feel like I mentioned Dragon Kid turning heel potentially. It comes off odd to me that specifically he's being singled out as not people saying not for him to join a faction.
Interesting. I think there's some merit behind that theory. Absolutely.
And I think the idea is, well, it has to be a heel group, right? But what if it's not a heel group that's saying that? What if it's one of the good guys?
Also possible.
Sort of
that could be
that's
very Dragon Gate of them. Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like that something's up with that, and I feel like he could. I wouldn't be shocked if he's the other Demon Mask at this point.
So that's a nice little quick Dragon Gate section. Not much else going on. They had their January 17th New Year's Gate show, which was just a simple watch. And now the tag title tournament, which we'll cover on the next episode, being that it's pretty much it's come out the day we're recording here, so just bad timing on that part. So as I make my little note here,
I just thought of something. If Dragon Kid turned heel, it opens up a Dragon Kid story to go into the Inferno stuff as well.
Interesting.
I feel like that. I feel like I'm starting. My brain's starting to go with this sort of booking here.
I like it. Okay, let's get this next DDT section out of the way. So I do want to mention right off the bat with DDT is Chris Brooks is having another produce show. That's really exciting.
He's staying in Japan, I see, because there's no way you'd give him a produce show in February and him be gone, especially because wasn't his contract supposed to be up in January?
I think so. So I think it's safe to say safe to assume, at least to some accord, that he got an extension or they signed him.
Coward, you better sign Chris Brooks.
Yeah. So he's teaming up with Miyu Yamashita this time. That should be a fun little pair there.
I love his reasoning for it. He said, her kicks hurt last time. I kind of want to be the other end on that.
It was good. So before we go into the shenanigan show, that was the December Road show that finally came out on Wrestle Universe that we got to watch, I have the full card in front of me for the big February 14th show. We were going to have a guest on for this, but they canceled last minute. So here we are. We have a basic opening tag with Yusuke Okada there, so it's nice to see him. I'll get into the Yusuke Okada-Ueno singles match that occurred here in a second. There is an 8-man tag champion decision match. This is the third defense for the fourth champions of the 4-man tag titles. It's wacky. It's Takage, Dino, Owashi, and Oishi against Shinya Aoki, Sasha Dango Machine, Antonio Honda, and Harada. Probably a skip match. It's going to be Honda shenanigans. There's Joshi Pro Wrestling Wars, Saki Akai, and Maya Yuki against Saori Ano versus Saori Ano and Miyako Matsumoto. It's called Super Joshi Pro Wars. Very excited for that match. My excitement level for that one, Kay. It's like the match was made for me.
I am so pumped for this. It's like someone said, "Hey, I'll pick three of your favorites and put Miyako in there." It's like, yeah, I'm down for this. Ano and Maya, sign me up. Where do I sign?
There's Yuki Ino's return match from injury. It's Damnation versus All Out. Sasaki, Takao, Mad Pauly, Yuji Hino. Good to see Yuji Hino here. Versus Takeshita, Akito, Katsumata, and Yuki Ino. Fine. Nice little mid-card match. I think the match we're going to pop for is the trio match of Super Delphin, Chris Brooks, and Maki Ito. Oh my god, what a team. Taking on Mao, Keigo Nakamura, and Mirai Mahumi. Mirai's getting a big shot on this card here. Match like that.
I want to see two things. I want to see a Dolphin Dick Punch. I want to see Ito do a headbutt to the dick, but then I also want to see Ito do a headbutt to Mirai's crotch area and then wonder why it didn't work.
There you go. Special tag match follows. Hirashima and Yuji Okabayashi taking on Higuchi and Yukio Naya. So I could deal with Naya not in this match, but hey, here we are. Universal title match. Ueno defending against Yukio Sakaguchi. That should be awesome. And then the main event, KOD Openweight title, Endo defending against Jun Akiyama. I think Akiyama wins it here.
I want Endo to win, though. I feel like without that belt, he would beat not himself. I don't want to see Endo get fat. He needs to keep those abs. Very important that he keeps those abs.
I think the story is the story is right there in front of us. Akiyama is the mean as fuck veteran, just on a roll. He's at the top of his game, and it gives all these other guys something to shoot for, and he's already got that big rivalry set up with Takeshita. Gotta go with Akiyama here, and it makes all the sense in the world.
As much as it makes sense, I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going Endo.
I like you being a little different here.
As opposed to normal?
Yeah, hey, it's fine. You go with the easy prediction, but you didn't. I can appreciate that. So let's talk this road show. It took place around the Christmas holiday. It's a DDT road show where everything takes place basically on the street or in random locations. There was a Joshi match, which took place outside in an outside kind of strip mall area where it was really funny. Hikari Noa is getting closer and closer to hardcore death matches that she's going for. Yuka at one point threw Miyu downstairs.
And she laughed evilly as she did it.
She did. She was very proud of herself. The match that followed was Eruption, again with wacky Dino and Harada shit, where they fought inside a store, poked each other with shit. Dino had a fire extinguisher held by Akito shoot out his ass at Eruption. Of course, Saki Akai is always on the worst end of all of the shenanigans.
You missed the most important part: the return of the go-go dancer, Brazilian dancer people.
Yeah, it was definitely an entertaining match. I do recommend checking it. This whole show was very, very entertaining. There wasn't a miss, I feel, on the whole thing.
Oh, definitely not. Especially in the main evento.
Oh, with Onita, Chris Brooks, and Maki Ito. But where would we be without the pool match, where there's a water slide?
Main event, as far as I'm concerned.
Dude, there was Canadian destroyers into the pool. There was a fucking bomb with Yuji Hino showing up out of nowhere and chucking him off a bridge.
Kaniku Buster into the pool.
Yeah, Takeshita held, I forget who it was, but he Kaniku Bustered off the bridge into an inner tube into the water, which was great. Sasaki's chilling in fucking sandals and holding a Sapporo the whole time. It was great.
And sweats and sandals and a Sapporo. It's the best.
Yeah, I mean, there were some big spots, but I think Ueno was the MVP of this because he had the kickboard shots down the slide to everybody. He was always in the right place, right time for all the proper shenanigans. He was my MVP of this match.
Like just the fact that Endo did a Canadian destroyer into the pool, and then didn't do like a power bomb onto the slide, down the slide.
He tried a sunset flip bomb down the slide, but he kind of messed up.
This match happened, come out when it supposedly like during last year, this would have been my match of the year. Just gonna put that there. I would put this in the VOW thing. Their taste be damned.
Taste be damned. I'm still upset that your ballot didn't register proproperly when you.
I'm upset by that. I'm so mad. I spent an afternoon on that. I'm still so mad
because
I wrote a paragraph on Suzu and Maya.
The math worked out where if you would have submitted your ballot along with my high vote of Suzu Maya from Yokohama, that would have been a top 75 match and the only one, and I think the first ever of Ice Ribbon to make the list.
So mad. I just I wrote a loving paragraph. Like, I made sure I went back and proofread it because I am so high on that match. I wanted to make sure I expressed just how high I spent the whole afternoon on. I'm so mad it didn't go through.
Mm-hmm. So Damnation versus Sonic Club from the water park pool brawl is what I called it. That's definitely one of the best tag matches of the year. It was really fun. And then the main event,
6-star match.
Yeah, the main event was a exploding bat death match again. The ongoing rivalry of Onita and whatever his face is called. Very wacky. I think the weakest match on the show, if I'm being honest, but it was still entertaining.
The visuals of this match were probably the best part. I think just Ito and her crew in leather jackets, because it felt like it was Ito and her gang, not Onita and his team.
Yeah, I will say the best.
Ito just kind of had a commanding presence as she walked out.
Yeah, the best spot in the match was when I believe, who was it? Someone on Kamiyu's team there was at the end of this kind of not ramp, but long wooden bench, and Chris Brooks pushes Ito on a cart to essentially drop kick this dude off the bench. That could have been horribly wrong.
Oh, that part, and Ito swinging the bat and it prematurely exploding and her flying to the side. I think it was so good. Like, she flew and did the Yamcha like death curl. Yeah, and she kind of like was in the fetal position on the ground. It was the best.
It's a really fun show. Definite recommendation there. And DDT had a couple house shows. They're kind of chilling out for the time being, getting ready for the big Kawasaki show in February. There was the in-ring debut of Yusuke Okada immediately up against Yuki Ueno. Now, Ueno did, I believe, submit him, but they went about 15 minutes, and it was a proving ground match for Yusuke Okada, kind of being established and slotted at kind of the upper mid-card, gonna get a main event shot at some point, along with Yuji Hino, of where they're at. So I think these two guys in DDT definitely brings much needed depth to the promotion and reinvigorates their growing main event scene. So I'm very excited to see what 2021 has to do with Yusuke Okada, where Hino is going to get his chances, and how Akiyama is going to defend the title after he wins it. Ha 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 ha. Okay. That's DDT. You ready for some Joshi, K?
I'm always ready for some Joshi.
Right. Get some Mayu Iwatani music.
Mayu Iwatani?
Do I play Micah? No, I'll play Mayu. No, I'll play Micah style. Who am I kidding? All right. Gotta make my little note here. Go. Star. Notes are very important to BK.
I see.
Saves me a lot of time later. Okay, so Stardom.
Yeah, they had a couple good shows.
They had the Osaka shows and the 10th anniversary show at Korakuen that they run every January. Last year was the Mayu Momo main event. That was kind of the Joshi match of the year for a good chunk of it.
Yeah, it definitely was.
At least in my opinion, it was. But let's start out with the whole seedling crossover here. And by seedling, I mean Nene and Yoshiko. Because let's face it, it's not truly a seedling invading storyline or anything. Look, maybe you disagree with this, Kay, but this is all as a celebration for the Budokan show of Stardom's history. And Yoshiko and Nene Takahashi are part of Stardom's history. And they're being used to an extent with Momo taking on Nene Takahashi and Yoshiko Mayu, a big celebration of the promotion.
I agree there, obviously, and there's the big undercard battle royal, which is going to have Yoko Bito and Yuzupan and a bunch of other names from the past in there. I get why they're putting them here. I'm concerned how they're going to book those matches, because if I'm going to be frank, Nanai should not be going over anyone on Stardom's roster. And the only time I'd be okay with Yoshiko going over Mayu is if it leads to something else. But I feel like Mayu going over and then challenging for the seed belt makes more sense to me. Because Nanai going over Momo leads to absolutely nothing. I don't know if I would agree with that decision. But they did. I don't know if you have had it down or not, but Momo, Ida, and Mayu did invade a seedling show, their first show of the year, actually.
Well, they showed up because Yoshiko issued a challenge. She came on a video screen and said, "Hey, it's been a week. I need my answer." And they showed up at the start of a seedling show, not the end, not after the main event.
The start, yeah,
the start.
Yeah, not those. Don't pop the main event. Yeah.
And the seed crew are in those gaudy jumpsuits.
Oh yeah, their new jumpsuits are horrid. Oh my god! And then the contrast because Momo, Maya, and Ida are in the sleek, clean-looking Stardom jumpsuits.
Yeah.
It just looks so like one of them looks like a professional company, it looks like an indie company.
Like, you want to talk about AEW Impact looking, major league to minor league? God, does Seedling look minor league to me?
Yeah, it's so bad. It's. I think the interesting part is that they announced that there's going to be a tag match with Momo and Ida versus Nana and Arisa Nakajima. Now, obviously, I think Ida's going to eat the pin in that. It's the only logical thing. But I want to preface this because I see people saying, oh, we might get Arisa and Momo or Arisa showing up at Stardom. I don't think Arisa's ever going to show up in Stardom.
I agree with you, Kay. Arisa,
her and Tsukasa are legit, real-life, close best friends. Tsukasa and Stardom do not have a good relationship with Stardom. She probably is doing this one match because Nanai booked it, but she will not show up in Stardom. I bet you good money she will not show up there.
Yeah, I kind of laughed at the whole prospect of Nene gets Momo, Yoshiko gets Mayu, the icon, and then Arisa, and I'll take the rookie.
That's kind of what it was, right? Because you had the promos going, and the build to this has been really flat for me, right? The promos between Mayu and Yoshiko seem very awkward and kind of not stilted, but kind of almost like they're dancing around things. They know they don't know whether they should go full blood feud or they should go respect feud. And I feel like that's mostly to do with the act situation. They don't want to go full blood feud because that brings up bad things that will probably be covered. And Stardom probably wants to keep its public image still looking relatively good since it's growing. They kind of don't want the act incident to be brought up more than it needs to be. With Momo and Nanai, it's pretty much just been Momo getting in Nanai's face, like, I want to beat you, bitch. I'm going to beat you, bitch. And that's kind of it. I just like laughing at her. Like, yeah, okay, whatever, fine.
So here's my thinking over this Budokan show. And I already mentioned that it's clear to me that it's a celebration of Stardom 10 years, okay? And booking the Budokan gets a good, checkbox on the big promotion thing that you are growing, right? And the attendance thing, to an extent, yes, it matters. However, this whole Nene and Yoshiko match, it's to fill out the mid-card. And to me, it doesn't matter who wins or loses those two matches because of how it's being presented to me. And I really think this is on purpose. You mentioned the storyline being a little flat and they're not kind of going full on into it. I think that's by design because what they want this to be is the celebration rather than the focal point. Because the focal point of Stardom at the end of the day, and we've spoken about this particular topic on a number of occasions, are freelancers coming in and taking the shine away from your own talent. And what Stardom doesn't want is for these two outsiders, freelancers, if you will. I know they're not freelancers, but you get the idea of what I'm going here. They don't want to overshadow Julia, who's gearing up for a big white belt defense, possibly against Tam Nakano in a explosion match, which is another, again, celebration type match, because that's one of their more famous matches in the company's history. And then
infamous, not famous.
Infamous. And the Saitani versus Utami main event, red belt match. And the more I thought about this, and I go, okay, so B. Priestley is going to be challenging here, maybe for a defense in February. Or B faces Saitani and one of them win, and then they get the big Budokan match. Either way, the balls in this company to put their young talent in these major matchups. And we'll get to the Maika Utami match here a little later. There's just so much confidence right now in the Stardom roster that they can put these young wrestlers in these prominent roles and have them grow for it. And I can't argue with the booking here for a lot of it.
So I want to put a bit of I guess not maybe throw some cold water on your B Kamatani thing, but they already booked the Kamatani match. It's been made official.
That's fine. So B gets a challenge in February, and that gets gets another good.
There's no February defense. There is no February defense.
So B is maybe a challenger down the line, which is fine.
So here's sort of the problem, and this has been brought up a lot by the Japanese side of fans. Not surprisingly, not as much the Westerners, from what I'm saying. A lot of the Japanese fans don't buy Kamatani as a challenge because obviously she's not done anything, right? She lost. She got pinned in that future belt match. She got pinned when they lost the tag belts. She hasn't been presented as somebody that's on the level to challenge. I feel like they did a disservice to that match by not having Kamatani win against anybody major to get herself into that slot. Also, Utami never formally accepted the match.
Right.
That's why it was up in the air.
Yes.
So fans have said, well, this feels like the company decided for Utami, and they felt like they wronged Utami by letting her make the decision. I have a kayfabe way of doing it, but I don't want to say that they've done a really bad job booking up to this Budokan show, right? I feel like they've tried things, and maybe some things, obviously, with the Kairi stuff fell through, potentially, if they were going for that or not. The Yoshiko Nanai stuff is like that's going to be, like you said, it's like a nice little homage to history, though I do think it does matter who wins those matches, especially if Nanai doesn't show up again. She should not be beating Momo just to beat her and then not show up again. It's stupid. I feel like they could have done a little bit more on the Kamatani stuff. And it seems to have been a very largely Echo thing. Like, you could have had her, they've had several matches now. You could have had her pin Mayu, pin somebody that's in one of these matches. She's only pinned Unagi and Lady C and Saki Kashima. That's not, I don't buy her as a challenger.
No, I don't. I will continue on here because I feel like I need to speak up here. I don't disagree with any of this. What's going to need to happen over the next month leading into Budokan is creating a storyline and booking to make Saitani a more credible challenger. Because they even admitted to it in promos. Hey, look, you are probably not up to this level yet, and you can't win the title with two moves. Your two awesome moves. So it's going to be up to Stardom to convince the audience that she's a credible challenger. So they got a task there. That's why I thought. That's why that's why in my head I'm thinking there could be a singles match between Saitani and B to play into that. Just a thought I had, and that would make total sense to me.
I feel like they announced the card on purpose because they're selling the tickets, right? You want to get the card.
Yeah, absolutely.
The tickets. So I feel like them doing it now, like retroactively, doesn't help anything. If anything, it makes me wonder more why you wouldn't do it before you announce the ticket sales and then build more into it going forward.
Well,
it just seems backwards to me. They could have
maybe you're right. Maybe you're onto something there, but there's no reason they can't just say speaking out. I'm going to keep with this B storyline here. There's no reason they can't in February at some point go, B wants her title match. It wasn't granted to her, but they can put a match together where the winner gets into the Budokan main event. They could totally do something like that, and to me, that's good enough.
I think they've already announced that the white belt's going to be in February. There's no white belt defense on the Budokan show. As far as I've seen on the card, there's no white belt defense on the Budokan show.
I read that if Tam Nakano wins something, then she will go on to Budokan to challenge for the white belt in a no rules or explosion match.
Okay, see, I saw a very different thing. I saw that she had challenged, and then Starlight Kid had also come out and challenged.
Starlight Kid is challenging, I think, in February.
That's
another case. That's another case of balls on the company of really pushing young talent.
That right there confused me, and it seems to have confused a little bit of quite a few people because they didn't make that clear. Because when that promo happens, right, when they all came out and it was announced on Twitter, the people in attendance probably understood. The way they conveyed it on Twitter, nobody the people were like, "Wait, so is Starlight Kid challenging? Is it a triple threat? Like, what's going on?" I think they need to do a little bit better job communicating. Like, you don't need to have both of them come out and challenge at once. You could do one at a time, like they've done in the past. It felt like they were rushing too much too quickly in that one. You could have had Tam come out. You didn't need Starlight to come out right now, because really you could have just done the Tam one and then Starlight come out after that, instead of having them both come out at the same time almost and make challenges and then not really give dates for either match. And it just came off very confusing.
I think they're kind of in rush mode to try to get everything in as they can so they can sell future tickets, which makes sense to me. And I don't disagree that, yeah, there could have been a more cohesive job done. But I do preface this. Just be patient with what happens in February. There's a lot to break down here. I think there's a little overreaction to a lot of this, because everything will make sense as time goes on. And February is going to be something to really pay attention to Stardom and how everything unfolds. So there is a story sense here. So without wasting more time over a lot of possible conjecture and everything, let's talk about this fucking Korakuen show that was really good. Well, except one match.
Yeah, that one match was... It was expected not to be good, so I don't know how that was shocking. But
Ida defeats Unagi to retain the future title. Good stuff. Simple. Ida's looking good.
Ida's jacked. Jacked Scott Steiner over there. Looked great.
Natsupoi wins via Konami DQ. Should it have gone 8 minutes? Probably not. But it was good while it lasted. I'm kind of okay with... Because it builds up their tag title match. It's kind of old school. Could you argue that it should have probably taken place at a house show rather than a Korakuen? Yeah, you could, but hey, it was second from the bottom, so I think no harm done in the end.
See, I'm not as high on this one. I don't like the DQ finish like one bit. I don't see why you couldn't have done something else with this to build to that match. You could have had Natsupoi lose. You could have had Konami lose. It's building into the match.
I would have had Konami eat a pin for sure.
Yeah, and they've not been afraid to do this in the past, so it makes me wonder why they're hesitant to do it now all of a sudden to build up to that match. The DQ pissed me off. I'm sick of Oedo Tai's DQ shit. It really bothers me, especially when it's a good match and then you just ruin it. I didn't think it was necessary to do the DQ. And I think it was even a really bad. Like, Konami does not know how to use that chair to choke somebody because it was very obvious.
Yeah, it was. It
was a bad visual on top of that.
Yeah.
I hate that it's spreading. I just hate the stupid DQ stuff is spreading.
Azumi retains the high-speed title against Kaori Yonoyama. Hey, good 5-minute match. Got no problem.
That's the same match you've kind of seen before between the two. It wasn't bad, though.
Battle of the Tiger Suplex. Tam Nakano defeats Starlight Kid. I love this match. Stardom has gotten this formula down of kind of the perfect 10-minute match for the structure of the wrestlers.
Oh, I love this match so much. Everything from the shit talking that was in the match, you saw the two talking to each other.
Oh, yeah. And I really liked the camera at the end of the match where Starlight Kid, even though she lost, she's like, come on, just one more. This Tam Nakano, Starlight Kid, this is going to play into the white belt. Here's a prediction, Kay. You ready for this prediction? With how everything's kind of unfolding, especially with Starlight going for the white belt and Tam wanting the white belt. That's going to be the white belt picture for 2021 once Julia loses the thing and goes up to the main event.
I think so as well. I don't think Tam's going to have a long run, so I can see her dropping it. Maybe not to Starlight, but dropping it to somebody on that level.
Oh yeah, it could be any number of wrestlers, but I really like where look, this Cosmic Angels split from Stars. I am all in on it. Everything is working out so well. It's elevating so many wrestlers from out of that undercard to mid-card and upper mid-card territory. Tam Nakano, to me, and look, people forget 2019 5-star, she only won like one match. And it wasn't until the Arisa Hoshiki kind of storyline and feud where Tam Nakano leveled up and became a good wrestler, and she's really coming out on her own as a potential upper mid-card, every once in a while main eventer.
Yeah, no, I feel like, and I got this idea. So remember when Team Jungle or John split from Stars and how that just kind of was flat? This is what that should have been. Split where they're talking shit to each other, and it's like a rivalry based off of like a bit of mutual respect, but a bit of disdain for one splitting from the other when it comes to Starlight Kid. Starlight Kid's got attitude, something we've never seen from her before. She's got this attitude toward it. I'm liking it a lot because it's giving her more personality and depth than the happy-go-lucky kid wrestler chick that she was.
Oh
beforehand.
Yeah, her embracing the whole tiger shtick is really working, especially with fans from what I could tell. So this was a great match, a great representation. Tam Nakano's on fire right now, whether it be promos, leveling up her faction. Starlight Kid's on fire right now ever since she hit the moonsault. That was kind of a kickoff point, which we all felt. And the booking supports all this. And talk about a match where the loser comes out looking stronger, and it's only going up from there. So we got a lot more to go through. Let's speed this up a bit. 4-way elimination tag match. Queen's Quest eliminates DDM at the end. The Momo Shuri stuff is the best feud in the company right now, as far as I'm concerned. This is excellent stuff here. Wonder of Stardom title match, no rules. Julia defeats Natsuko Tora. She can fuck right off into the undercard. I'm so tired of just terrible Natsuko Tora matches. I was convinced to watch this. At least Julia came out looking like a badass. I did laugh with the blue mist and everyone getting, or the blue powder, or whatever it was, where Julia's all blue Smurf coming out of this. And the world title match, everyone's like rolling around in blue. That was funny to me. But yeah, Tora can fuck right off. I'm so glad she lost. She's like the 20th best wrestler in Stardom. She has no business. Yeah.
I liked the sort of moments. This match had a lot of moments that were good in it, like the chopping the blocks on her back, the Julia choking Natsuko with her own chain. I liked that because fuck you, Natsuko, your chain sucks. Not only that, but I think Julia did a better job of getting her over the rope and doing it than Natsuko's probably ever done.
Oh, sure.
But she kind of showed her up in that regard too. This match was very much meh, but I feel like I got to give Julia props on one thing. She took a 1.5 star wrestler at best on her best day in Natsuko Tora and gave her a 3-star match.
Yeah, we're long past the days of Jungle Assault Nation Tora, where she's at least could be a credible mid-carder. This gimmick is death. That's not a pun on Death Yamasan.
Wrestling's regressed since then. That's why I made the argument. I said Momo got a great match, got a good match out of her, right? Mayu's gotten Tam got a good match out of her, but that was back when Natsuko was a 3 out of 5 wrestler. She was kind of a mid-card, but solid mid-card, right? Now she's like a 1.5 star wrestler. And so for Julia to even get her up to that level speaks of volumes to how Julia was able to elevate her in a terrible stipulation match that doesn't work normally in Stardom and kind of didn't work here even with the crowd to an extent.
No, a big problem is
really did a good job.
Yeah, the biggest problem in this match was the structure was just all over the place. It didn't have a structure, and Tora didn't do anything special in regards to no rules other than her typical shtick. I mean, there were cinder blocks there, but hey, who cares really?
Cinder blocks was Julia.
Yeah, it was all about Julia in their cinder blocks. So, whatever. We've wasted way too much time on this match. Let's talk about one that was just awesome that I really, really, really enjoyed, and that's the World of Stardom title. Utami defeating Maika. Okay, Utami has this rose gimmick now. This shit is gonna be so over.
It's already over. Like, she hands the rose to a female audience like a member that's using the front row at all times. They know what they're doing with this one because I've seen the people on Twitter she retweets them. She retweets the people that get the rose that posted on Twitter. She retweets them. So I've seen several ones like this. The girl at this show was her very first show ever for Stardom, and a friend convinced her to go.
There you go.
And the one before that was a high schooler who all of a sudden got infatuated with her in Stardom and was drawing sketches of Utami in her sketchbook in class. That's how you make fans. That's how you make new fans.
Oh yeah, it's gonna like she could sell roses. Like I could totally see a scenario here when fans are allowed to do streamers and sit, where instead of streamers they throw roses in the ring for Utami. I totally see something like that happening. This is Bret Hart with the sunglasses all over again. And I gotta give it up to Maika with how she came into a promo like "fuck your rose can go to hell," and she slaps the rose out of her hand, and this is such a nice, simple rivalry. We had speculation that Maika, has a lot to prove in this match, and this structure really worked for me. It was 24 minutes. I didn't think they overstayed their welcome. It was definitely a good. I think it accomplished what a main event is meant to be: a big-time title match. They went to lariat blows, power moves. I really felt like both wrestlers leveled up coming out of this match, and Maika really impressed me. She can now cycle back down the card. You know, she got her title match. I was very happy. This was a great second defense for Utami, and great for Maika. She learned a lot coming out of this match. And like I said, she can cycle back down the card, maybe go, maybe get a white belt chance, maybe go for a tag title run here or there. She's had her main event opportunity. This was great. I think this accomplished everything it needed to be, and it was a very enjoyable main event title match.
See, I was the opposite. I thought Utami had more to prove for me in this one. And I think I've made my point pretty clear on the fact that I thought Utami had a lot of help in her two matches, the one against Mayu and the one against Momo. And this, to me, was my first time seeing, can she stack up? Can she be a red belt champion? Because the most I had seen from her was just her be a stagnant, sort of good look, but not really impressive in ring wrestler. And this was this was everything it needed to be. She showed that she could hang in there with somebody. She didn't have to carry Maika. Maika didn't have to carry her either. It was very much a mutual match. I got to see Utami show more personality finally, because that was a big point from her, was this lack of personalities, kind of monotone promos, and starting to add a little more sarcasm, kind of maybe aping a little Momo shtick a little bit in how she speaks to people.
Mm-hmm.
But you learn from the best, as I put it. I thought Utami came out of this match. I came out of this match with more confidence in Utami's run than I came into it with.
Well, that's good. Mission accomplished then.
Came into this on a scale of 5. I came into this at a 2 with Utami. I was like, I don't feel confident enough. I thought it was too soon. And I came out of this, I'm at a 4 now. Now, that Kamatani match could knock that down. It depends on if she can carry Kamatani and keep Kamatani on track, which I think is important, because Kamatani has a tendency to not lose the plot, but kind of, you know what I mean, like kind of lose the match, get a little too crazy and too fast, and kind of move kills some of the momentum in the match because she's doing too much too quickly. And if Utami can keep her on track, then I think Utami's at a 5, and I think I believe in her run unequivocally at that point.
Yeah.
This is exactly what it needed to be. It was slow, but it was good kind of slow. It was a powerhouse slow. And again,
you know how, this might be a very outlandish comparison, but we watched a All Japan Pro Wrestling match of what's his face? Shoot. Bear with me here. It was Steve Williams and Misawa. Okay? Now hear me out. It was just two bulls going at it and hitting each other with moves that felt like they had impact. Okay? That's the comparison. And I got a lot of that out of the Maika Utami match, because these are two power wrestlers, which is funny because a lot of the wrestling today, especially in the Joshi scene, is a lot more of this kind of, I don't want to say full lucha libre, but it's a lot faster. While we're doing the 2010s journey for the Patreon, that a lot of those older wrestlers are power wrestlers. And it seems like wrestlers like Utami and Maika coming out and doing that older style. We could say older style at this point, but hey, that's funny. Yeah, it's something different that we've seen, and I like it. I like a little different, and again, I've said this time and time again now, the balls on this company to put two people with combined less than 5 years experience in a main event of a big show at a big venue, relatively speaking. The only time in history I could compare the level of experience to a main event of this caliber was Devil Masami versus Jaguar Yokota in the early 80s, when they were both less than 5 years experience at that point in time, having a main event title match showing.
I feel like I want to say there was another time that's happened.
I'm sure that's happened at some point, but from my limited research I did just on like that kind of popping into my head, I was like, man, this is the only one I could really think of.
Yeah, because I want to say it might have happened another time or a few other times maybe after that, but definitely that's more of a most notable one because it's one you can kind of call off the top of your head.
Right.
I also want to preface this. Tommy's promo at the end was fantastic. Probably the best promo she's ever cut.
She's getting confident. She's getting confident.
Right, like her shit talking to Kamatani was great. What are you? I don't know if I want to face you. You got 2 moves. What are you? And then she's like, she yells, she's the future of Stardom. Calm down, the future of Stardom.
Yeah, and that yeah,
good.
no, that's good. You're recognizing what the audience sees as well. So now it's up to I'll just say this one last comment, and then we can move on. That now it's up to Stardom to prove it. They got to book Saitani in a way that she more earned her title shot. So let's see how February plays out here. See what the next shows are gonna do. That is the task they have ahead, and that's fine. But Utami wasn't the only one that talked shit to a challenge. Azumi talked shit to Natsupoi, saying, "What are you doing here? What have you pinned? Who have you pinned?" So, but I mean, kind of since day one, we've all been wanting Natsupoi versus Azumi for the high speed title, and that's a Budokan match. It's no shock.
Yeah, that's happened at Budokan, and all I gotta say is you guys aren't ready for Point Mania. None of y'all are ready for Point Mania.
All right, so we wouldn't be covering Stardom without mentioning the Shuri Momo feud, and Momo having none of Shuri's bullshit in the press conference. I've watched that clip a million times.
I've watched it so many times. Every time I see it, I watch it at least 6, 7, 10 times. I at least count sometimes. It's the best. I think that clip right there is the perfect summation of Momo's personality as a wrestler. It's like, fuck you. I don't want to play your game. I'm already unhappy that I'm having you roped me into this. I lose. Screw you. You lose. It's just it there.
Shuri's position as SWA champion, it is a great role for her to kind of keep her away from the main event picture right now, because she had her big title match a few months ago against Mayu. She's made this nothing belt into something that feels important, and she's doing the storyline with Momo, again, outside the main event, so it's keeping Momo busy as well, in such a unique storyline with this whole Snoopy persona. Shuri's calling Momo Snoopy, plays into some backstage stuff. She's wearing a Snoopy hat. She's putting videos on Twitter and stuff of her working out in the Snoopy hat. She's wearing it in backstage promos going, look, Momo-chan, and she's doing this goofy fucking voice. It's a total troll move, and Momo is not happy with any of it. The press conference video, for those that are wondering, you can find it on Twitter, Stardom and Momo and Shuri especially, where Shuri pops in. She has a mallet, like a little not styrofoam, little like blow up mallet.
Blow up mallet, yeah.
Blow up mallet, and Shuri has this Snoopy hat on. And Momo corpses like almost immediately when Shuri starts talking in that goofy fucking voice. It's so funny.
Yeah, she should put her head down a little bit, like she was like shaking her head.
The hair hiding her face. It was really funny. It was so good. So then Shuri basically challenges her to rock paper scissors, Junkenpo, and she does this. Shitoi, okay, Junkenpo. And if you lose, the winner gets to bop you on the head with the mallet. And Shuri's even brought this...
The helmet on. You have to put the helmet on beforehand, otherwise you get hit in the head.
Right. So Shuri wins the first time, and she's like, yay! And she bonks her, puts the helmet on. Momo's pissed off immediately. Shuri loses the second time, and Momo just blasts her in the head once. The title gets knocked off, and Shuri's like, oh no, oh my god, my title. Let me just put this over here.
She puts the belt, she gets like, what's your? It's okay.
It's okay. Okay, one more time. Goofy voice again, Junkenpo, and Momo loses, but she grabs the mallet anyway and just goes to town on Shuri. Itai. It's so funny. It's the best thing in the world. My favorite part of that is the fact that Momo didn't just settle for hitting her with it multiple times. She got an angle. Like she put her leg up on the table, on like the couch to get a good fucking angle, just to beat the crap out of her. Just chucks the helmet off the table, talks that shit out, or walks off. It was great. So cut to the Osaka shows, and Shuri and Momo are just, anytime they get in the ring together, they're all about going to blows with each other. This January 30th, I believe, SWA title match, which will go up on Stardom World soon enough. Very much looking forward to that. That has match of the year capabilities, at least at this point in time for women's wrestling. I'm hyped. You hyped, Kay?
I am so hyped.
And basically the big news coming out of the Osaka shows, they've had more, team elimination matches and whatnot, good house show type things. The two things I want to mention are the Unagi 7-match trial So good for her, getting a big storyline outside of any sort of picture with Unagi, getting her more experience. So that's big thumbs up to me. And the Mayu Iwatani Tam Nakano 15-minute draw. We've been critical over a lot of draws happening in Stardom and among promotions. If we just watch Stardom, and how there was one draw this year already that we weren't too crazy about, the whole Unagi tag match where she probably could have eaten the pin here, but the Shuri Momo draw building into a further story, you can do draws, DQs, and whatnot, and countouts if you build on them. And doing it at an Osaka show, I'm very much for. And this Mayu Tam match was awesome. This is exactly what I want to see. If you're going to do old school booking, do it like this. Tam wants to prove that this is why, I started my own faction. I got out of Mayu's shadow. Mayu's obviously not happy with Tam, leaving her, especially with the long-term story there, if you're familiar with kind of Stardom lore at this point. And Murder Mayu was very, very intriguing and interesting to me. And Tam wanting to prove herself. 15 minutes was enough time. This is going to be a big kind of, whether it's the main event on a card in February or it's second from the top, going up before a title match. This is going to be a drawing match, and I'm very excited for it. I'm very interested to see who can come out of it. And if Tam could get a good win here, she can get that white belt match down the line. I'm very excited for this.
I think you broke down the match very well. I wanted to say two things, two visuals that really hit home for me. One in this match and one in the Unagi Starlight Kid match that I think happened on the same show. So in this match, at the end of it, while they're both collapsed on the ground, Mayu reaching out for Tam, then reaching back away, and then Tam reaching out for Mayu and grabbing her by the foot and everything.
Great cam work. Great stuff.
It was fair because you see Mayu reach out for her and then kind of like pull back a little bit. Then Tam sees that and reaches out for her and tries to grab her leg as she gets pulled out of the ring by Starlight. I loved it. And then Starlight putting Mayu on her back and walking her out. I loved that visual too. But I think by far one of the other ones that I like just as much was at the end of the Unagi Starlight Kid match, where Unagi loses to Starlight, right? So it hits a new finisher and everything. Starlight grabs Unagi's face, points it towards her, and does a mocking delicious to her. The delicious Moa thing. And that was at the very end. She hits it. She sort of grabs Unagi's face. Like Unagi's kind of faced away from her. She grabs her face, points it at her like, I want you to see this. And like does the delicious Moa thing mockingly to her.
Good
I feel
stuff.
like there's two different angles. Two different angles coming from this. You have Starlight being more hostile, and Mayu being hostile but hesitant.
Yeah, there's a lot of good storylines. Yeah, there's a lot of good storylines happening outside the two title pictures in Stardom right now, and a lot of wrestlers are growing from it. Very much excited what February has in store leading into Budokan and what happens afterwards. I think people are concentrating too much on this whole Nene Yoshiko thing. That my prediction is nothing's going to come after Budokan with those two. And honestly, I hope it doesn't. I just want to see this.
If nothing comes of it, then they both need to lose. Like, you're not putting Nanai or Yoshiko over any of these people if it's just going to be a one and done.
Well, maybe they'll. We've spoken about freelancers before.
I would have a lot of issues, especially if Nanai pins Momo and Mayu gets pinned or any of those combinations. I'd be pissed. Jesus Christ, fuck you, Nanai. Because if it goes nowhere, then why would you put your own talent? First off, Nanai and Yoshiko should be thanking Stardom for this opportunity to be in front of a big ass audience, because they will never be in front of this level of an audience ever.
No, not no chance.
Yeah, no. So I think just at that, they should be willing to do the job because they're giving this opportunity. If Nanai thinks she's so high and tight and can't do the job for this situation, then she shouldn't be on cards like this ever.
I don't disagree with that at all. I don't. I will say I think you guys should. UK and a lot of other fans there should temper your expectations and just kind of accept fate and hope. I at least hope that we can put this behind us and just look at this Budokan show as a celebration rather than any sort of hardcore booking thing outside of the main event. just temper yourself. Just accept the celebration and then go from there.
All right, like I said, the only problem I would have is if they put people over them, if they put Nanai and Yoshiko or either of them over. And
Yeah,
it doesn't,
I'm going with the mentality that it truly doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I think
until I see otherwise.
Like you said, like the people coming in one and done bearing your talent, like it's like the thing with Sari. Like we both hated on that, and I think this would be no different than that. I would hate it.
Yeah.
I don't care if it doesn't matter. I just don't think you should be, because then what's gained? Nothing. Especially if they don't show up again.
Well, you're gained by celebrating at Budokan. That's the gain.
Yeah, but I still feel like that's still stupid to do. If you're gonna do it that way, then do a draw. Don't have them put them over.
Ugh, a draw at Budokan.
I'd rather that than I pin somebody or Yoshiko pin Mayu. Because if it goes nowhere, then you made your two big stars lose for no reason to a bunch of outsiders that don't matter and won't show up again. It's a bad visual.
Nene pins Momo and Yoshiko Mayu go to a draw. I think that's my prediction.
My prediction and what I'm hoping is that Naya Momo goes to a draw and Mayu beats Yoshiko. And if it does lead to something else, it leads to a Yoshiko Mayu rematch, and that's it.
See, I don't even want to see that. That's just me.
I don't want to see it either, but I mean, they could do that, I guess.
All right, let's get on to Tokyo Joshi Pro. What do you say?
Hell yeah.
世界一可愛いのは伊藤ちゃん本当の愛を探すんだ
Boy, that was a lot of Stardom talk, Kay. It's a good chunk of our podcast here today. So let's go through. Well, there's not a lot to talk about with TJPW and Ice Ribbon afterwards. So Starting Point. It was a big celebration show. Back to humble beginnings for Tokyo Joshi Pro. It was their what was the venue called? Again, Kay, forgive me here.
It's Akihabara Twin Box.
That's what it was. So it kind of came across as a Gato Move show in a lot of ways. But that
was the intention.
Yeah, that's where the promotion started. A fun, simple show. We got idol performances from Tatsumi. Up Girls did 3 songs. We got
Ito sang her song.
Got Ito sing her full song, and then we had some fun little matchups. Good little main event. Got to see Suzume and fucking Miyu Yamashita doing a guardrail kick. That was cool.
It was fucking wicked.
I got super drunk watching it. It was a blast.
But you got very drunk watching it.
Mission accomplished, as far as I'm concerned.
It was a fun little show. They had a show the next day on YouTube that was kind of more of the same, just a fun little show.
All right, so let's preview this February show.
Right, yeah, they're big sort of next Korakuen. Actually, It's the first time they've ever done Korakuen in back-to-back months.
Yeah, very cool. It's called Positive Chain, headlined by Rika Tatsumi defending the pop title against Miyu Watanabe. I predict Rika wins.
Oh yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, Rika wins. That's no question for me.
This was exactly what we were hoping that would come out of Rika winning the title when we originally predicted it. Is you get new people into the main event, and Miyu's one of them.
Yeah, I'm all for it, especially because they seem pretty high on her. I think Hikari's the next one to get this kind of push as well. So they're pretty high on at least those two up girls.
Yeah, Kamiyu defending the title against Mirai.
They're very high on Mirai. I don't know if you've noticed, but they really are high on her.
I could see Mirai winning the title here, if I'm being honest.
Ooh, I don't know if I'd have Kamiyu drop it so soon. I think Kamiyu retains it.
I'm leaning more towards defense, but if we get that upset, looking good. Bakuratsu sisters defending the tag titles against Shin, Ultra Shoko, and Hyper Misao, the team of heroes and justice.
I believe the team. Now, I could have got the translation wrong, and I have not seen the English one that the Twitter might have put out at some point. I believe it was Ultra Shin Hyper Team.
I love it. I'm leaning towards the Bakuratsu sisters retaining here in a fun little match.
Yeah, I will as well. Though, if they keep this Ultra Shin gimmick, I can see them doing it the other way just for a small little fun run.
Yeah, maybe. Magical Sugar Rabbits are back together up against Suzume and Endo. I'm very interested to see how Endo's going to perform in this tag match with two of the best in Tokyo Joshi Pro here, and Suzume getting a good opportunity to go against 2 top talents here.
Yeah, I've become a very big fan of Endo's from the start. Like, she really impressed me.
Yeah, she was originally from the Wrestle 1 Academy, right?
Yeah, so she was part of the dojo back there training, but she never debuted as a wrestler. She was sort of... So Wrestle 1 had this stupid habit of whenever they had Joshi women, they would just shoehorn them in this stupid cheer squad thing. She was in the cheer squad thing, she was training to be in the cheer squad thing, as well as a wrestler. I don't think she ever formally debuted as either. But she did get some training from Reika Saiki before going into the training in the dojo for TJPW.
I think TJPW got a real good young talent here on their hands, and a lot of their undercard is filled with that.
Oh, yeah, she's like in her 20s. She's in her early 20s, and she looked really good. She has really good fundamentals, which I think is what I expected for someone being trained by Reika Saiki of all people.
Good to see.
I think she's gonna skyrocket up the card quickly, I think.
Maki Ito somehow roped Miyu Yamashita into a tag match with her against Neo Bishiki-gun, Saki Akai, and Mei Saint Michel.
I think this is the first time we finally see Bishiki-gun lose a match. It seems like it's been long enough. They always do this. They'll bring them together. They'll always bring Bishiki-gun back. Last time it was with Masao. And they'll make them look strong for a couple shows. And then they'll finally have them lose one match. And then it'll lead to more stuff going on. I can see Mei eating the pin here.
In prediction. Yeah, I'd love to see Maki Ito and Miyu become a regular tag team and challenge for the tag titles and win it. I will agree with you here. And then some undercard stuff with the rest of the roster. So that's fine.
You're not gonna talk about Marika? Thought you liked Marika.
I do like Marika, but see the other people in that match?
Well, hey, listen, Milka's not bad. It's just they're facing Palm and Neko.
Yeah.
So.
Ugh, skip.
Hey, Yunamase is on this card, so there's a plus.
Yeah, now Calcutta, but Raku's on
like
that
now. Of now. That was great.
Okay.
Raku wants to be a train, so how dare you besmirch her?
I'm aware. You calm down. Okay. So, Ice Ribbon.
Yeah.
That was easy. On Maya music. No, that's not Maya. Ah, I'm so sorry. I hit Maya's by accident. Okay, so Ice Ribbon's kind of in the same situation. They're kind of in between shows. There's a couple shows they ran that haven't made tape yet. We'll call it that. Speaking of making tape, Kay, I got my hands on that December 30th Oz Academy show finally.
Oh, I'm quite all right.
Oh, I will be reviewing that for the next episode. You mark my words.
I'm quite all right.
Queen Ozaki will reign supreme in the rankings.
Oh, fuck Ozaki.
If you want to hear more wrestler rankings, join the Patreon, $1.50 tier. We break down the rankings wrestlers as we go throughout the year, every episode. Anyways.
JD know how wrong he is about Ozaki.
So some news coming out of Ice Ribbon, since we don't really have any shows. I mean, they're running Peace Party shows. No, they're fine. Sari heading to retirement, so she is off Winter Story. She was in a tag match. Our mistake. We thought Arisa Nakajima being the replacement was, and we weren't the only ones that thought this. When they said Arisa Nakajima was going to be replacing her, we thought it was going to be both the tag match and the next challenger. So we kind of got ahead of ourselves there. That is not the case. Arisa was just replacing her in the tag match at Winter Story. And then, as for the challenger, more on that later. Because the big Winter Story show will be making tape February 7th, I believe. Okay?
February 7th on Samurai TV. Do you want to discuss maybe not the matches, but maybe the outcome of one of the matches?
Let's save all that until we've actually seen everything. I know a lot of us have already been spoiled on it, but let's just save it for the next cast when we've actually seen everything, and then we could break it down and give it more time.
That works.
So that's about it for there, but there is big news. Since there's a lot of Peas Party going on, they're doing what's called the P League.
A Peas League.
Peas League. So it's essentially a rookie-sophomore G1, or Japan Grand Prix situation here. 2-block tournaments on Peas Party, featuring all the young wrestlers, in which eventually the winner will get a challenge for the Juku title against Tsukushi. I love this idea.
At the May 4th show. At a May 4th show. So it's going to be a little bit ways out before that actually happens.
So
that's the idea, too. It's good. It's a good idea.
Great idea. So we got...
I will say they hit a snag in the beginning with Momo Kogo having to sort of miss the first match that she was supposed to be in because of injury. But I do believe she might have been cleared. I might have saw that somewhere, so she might be back for the next ones.
So we did watch the first show that's happened, but let's get the blocks down. In Block A, it's Itsuki Aoki, a freelancer that's usually in Seedling, Momo Kogo, your actress girl, Yappy, now Ishikawa, and Yuki Mashiro, kind of a power group there. And then B Block is Totoro Satsuki, Rina Shingaki, 2AW, Bani Oikawa, Madeline from Diana, and Honori Hana from Seedling. These are really good blocks. My prediction, in my original thought, was Yuki Mashiro coming out of A Block. I'm going with now Ishikawa. I think, based on that first match, she went to a draw against Itsuki Aoki. I think there's something about that match that they let her do a little bit more outside the rookie shtick. I think they're going to level her up and get her a big chance to go forward and really break into the mid card coming out of the rookie kind of title. And out of the blue block, I got to go with Honori Hana. Who do you got, Kay?
So, I can see what you're going with now, but I feel like I'm of two minds, because I feel like they're, on one hand, I feel like they're going to keep the Juku belt around for this sort of thing right here. I could also see them just getting rid of it again. And I don't know which one they're going for, so I kind of want to lean towards them keeping it since they made this whole tournament for it. It makes me feel more confident that they might keep the belt. So if that's the case, I see Yuki Mashiro coming out of the A block, and I see Honori Hana coming out of the B block, but I do see Yuki losing.
Yeah, I don't see her winning.
Tsukushi. Yeah. If she does win, it'll be a big upset, and then she definitely has to take the belt off Tsukushi. However you're going to finagle that, how Tsukushi's being positioned right now.
I think it's
be Honori Hana.
Yeah, I could see Ice Ribbon utilizing the Juku belt and keep it going forward and use it kind of like the future title that Stardom does. It's all about trying to elevate young talent, and that's what this tournament kind of really gets me to lean that direction for. So Ice Ribbon, Ice Ribbon's winter story and this is something to get real hyped for. The tape delays are a little aggravating, but they got to make their money somehow. It's a big DIY promotion. If you want to keep up with it more and more like us, join the Discard. We all keep up with Ice Ribbon the best ability, I think, of anybody. And one of my big goals in 2021K is get the word of Ice Ribbon out more and more.
I know that's a good goal to have. I think with regards to Winter's story, so from what I gathered, from what I was told, it seems like from Yappy that they were approached by Samurai. So usually I think it goes the other way around. Usually they try to shop it to Samurai, but Samurai approached them because of the main event. They wanted this on their TV network, so they probably were given a good amount of money for that. So I can't begrudge them for that.
No, I don't mind waiting a few weeks. It's fine.
Oh yeah, especially because so some of the shows they can't air, like the Nagoya one that happened yesterday. Right. They can't bring they live in their dojos in Saitama. Nagoya is really far away. If you look at a map, they don't bring their stuff with them to Osaka, so why would they bring it all the way further to Nagoya? It makes sense why they can't bring all their equipment. They're still, again, small DIY. They probably don't even have a bus. They're probably all taking trains there.
Right.
Though I think Yappy had mentioned they do have a bus. I don't know if I remember hearing that right or not, but either way, it's just, they're a small promotion. They're like Dragon Gate. Like, I imagine if Dragon Gate goes somewhere further away, they're not going to live stream it.
I think they have a little bit more funding, but I do think the comparison is apt. Yeah.
So I don't blame them for things like this, or not doing a dojo show because Mio is supposed to be on commentary, but they want her to ref because they don't have any refs. And Mio ends up not showing up because she thought it started at a different time. It happened. So they
Yeah.
had to they had wrestlers wear the ref shirts because that was
I did read that. That was funny.
RBO.
Well, all right. I think that does it for the main part. Now we're on to the retro. Okay, it's time for the retro section of the podcast. Probably the stuff we're going to be talking about the most going forward here.
Yeah, not a whole lot's happened right now, the sort of middle month of January.
Yeah, so we just got done talking about all the modern stuff going on. Now it's time to hit the All Japan Women's Classics. I think besides just losing our minds to the Nitro stuff, this is my favorite part of every podcast episode.
All Japan Women's, of course, it's like some of the best stuff we get to see. Well, this episode a little less so than the others, but you know.
Well, since the back half of 88, heading into all the retirements of 89, and the just gutted roster of All Japan Women, we're definitely at the next generational shift here in All Japan Women.
All right, this feels like a very in-between getting there sort of show. So we might get like maybe another one of those, I assume, because they're not going to figure things out right away.
Oh, no. I imagine the entire year of 1990 is going to be pushing new stars, seeing who sticks, and whomever sticks and takes advantage of their push that's clearly going to be way earlier than anyone else we've seen throughout the last decade.
Yeah, it's so weird because normally they would have had this stuff already planned out and the transition would have normally been pretty smooth, like it was with Masami, Dakota to the Crush Gals and stuff like that. And this is just and they were so blinded by money they chose not to plan for the future, it seems.
No, they've totally missed the boat, and this is the importance of context instead of just dropping into something into a vacuum. You know, you can drop into an episode or pay-per-view of a wrestling show, and in the vacuum, it may seem, hey, this is pretty good. But then when you start getting the context of everything, start going, man, this is not as good as it's let on to be. So what we're referencing here is we are now officially in 1990. It's episode 37 of the Classics. It's all part of this Google Drive that's been shared around the internet. It came from Puroso Dream. That's where I got it from. It aired on Samurai TV. This is from January 4th, 1990. And I wanted to before we head into the show, I wanted to take a moment to kind of reminisce and look back on what we learned in the 1980s. Because, Kay, I mentioned this on the last couple podcast episodes that with heading into 1990, and for context, I really want to do something special with a lot of these segments of All Japan Women, with how much I've learned and dropped into. Because I don't know about you, a lot of this, when I started this over a year and a half ago, I was brand new to All Japan Women. I've seen, I've heard of the Crush Gals, I know of the Jumping Bomb Angels, I know a lot of names of the most famous ones, especially from the early 90s. I've seen a match or two, the big 5-star matches, if you will. The Manami Toyotas, definitely seen them. A lot of the ones that are still kind of kicking around today. I go back and listen to those past episodes, and I'm like messing up names because it's all brand new. I'm calling like Gokaku Dome Gokumen To because I just read something wrong. I did fix it like 2 episodes later. I've heard of Jaguar Yokota, didn't realize how important she was. It's all the learning experience. I really want to do something special with those episodes. And what's shocking to me is like not knowing who Dump Matsumoto is, not really knowing who Devil Masami was, and how important they were to the 80s in setting just the star power and influence of the wrestlers that came after them. It's just been so satisfying to learn about all this.
Right. Well, as myself, somebody who sort of has dipped more of just a toe into the AJW, more so the 90s than the 80s, actually. Watching this happen in real time as we watch it from like episode to episode and see things progress has been a very interesting learning experience for myself. Seeing where some of these wrestlers started from the beginning, because I mean, outside of Manami Toyota, I didn't watch any of old Aja Kong stuff outside of her stuff with Bull and stuff that she would do later. So, and same with Bull Nakano herself. Like, I didn't watch the rise of Bull, I watched the peak of Bull. So it's very, very much also a learning experience for myself. And I also find that maybe there's some things that I thought were one way that weren't that way. And I've learned some of that too. So, you know, I'm also learning. Even somebody as experienced as me is also learning.
Yeah, we're all learning on this journey because a lot of this just isn't documented. Let's be honest here. This is not podcasts that cover All Japan Women, especially from the 80s.
Well, there is one, but they don't do it as in depth, I guess, from what I've heard.
Oh, are you referring to Victory Through Guts?
Yeah.
Well, they do 90s. They didn't do the 80s. They started in January 4th, 1990. And I do recommend that podcast if you want to listen to fans that clearly have an interest and passion for what they're watching. I do recommend
Right. But I like to think that we're a little more in depth in terms of what we're discussing, as opposed to just discussing the match laid out in front of us.
So with everything we've learned and seeing everything in context, I do want to say Dump Matsumoto, Devil Masami, and Norio Tateno. I think those three are my favorite three I've enjoyed watching from the 80s. How about yourself? Anybody that sticks out to you? I mean, Chigusa Nagayo is the biggest star.
Right, but yeah, Chigusa definitely goes without saying. I think I didn't really start attaching myself to anybody until like the back half of this, which is Bison and Grizzly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of funny how I was sort of just going with the bigger names throughout it, like the Linus Asukas, Chigusas, and stuff like that, Aja, Bull, as they were coming up. But it took Grizzly Iwamoto stole my heart. Then so did Bison Kimura. So those are probably the two that stand out to me. And it's unfortunate that there's not a whole lot of Grizzly I could watch. It makes me sad.
Oh, we'll get into what happens with Grizzly Iwamoto.
Oh boy, will we?
Kumiko Iwamoto prior was her name. So just to fill in some more context here and where we're at, there's been a number of people that have had a chance to be showcased and pushed, but seemingly they put the brakes on, realized maybe they're not the right ones to take that next step. Couple that come to mind is who we're going to see in the main event of this classic, and that's Mitsuko Nishiwaki. Her fellow Firejet tag partner, Yumiko Hota, whom, when you put her body of work like together, she's made a lot of Japan Grand Prix finals and lost. She was in a prominent tag team that seemed to be set on being the next big tag team of All Japan Women, but then they're split up, but they're still together. They're clearly, like, Yumiko Hota was the first one to kind of break off and see if she'd work out as a single star. Clearly didn't work out, because now Nishiwaki has taken over. Norio Tateno stuck out to me, because it looked like she had a sort of push, and she's still sort of pushed as a commodity, but she's really just the name value being part of the Jumping Bomb Angels. And now we're left with Bull Nakano, whom is the only one at the top. There's been a lot of misses. Suzuka Minami's another one that's come to mind. It looked like before her neck broke, Hisako Uno, later known as Akira Hokuto, whom she's known as now at this point in time. She is Akira Hokuto at this point, but she broke her neck and then hasn't been the same since. She's still in a tag team focus, but she hasn't looked good She didn't look good in 1989. She's certainly on this show not up to the standard I think that a single star is made out of. This is very interesting to see in context, like who is actually going to rise up in research and context, and all the 5-star matches and all that. We know who rises up, but in the viewpoint of what we're seeing now and in the future, we don't know. It's Bull Nakano, and that's it.
Yeah, Bull was the only one that had any build. Like, her and Chigusa had stuff going on. Her and Devil Masami, obviously, she was with Devil Masami. Not Devil Masami, Dump Matsumoto. So they had some small build to her, but it seemed like they didn't build her as much as or as quickly as they normally did. They kind of like stopped halfway through. Now they're starting it back up, and it's just very weird. As for like you mentioned names like Akira Hokuto and Yumika Hota, and it's funny when you look at their overall bodywork going forward, and Hokuto doesn't get it together till a bit later, and Hota much later, which is interesting when you look at things now, what we're watching now, and where they are both, and how things progress.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pull up my Daily Motion page that I made, Red Leaf Retrocast, where you can find a lot of these classic episodes, classic matches that we do talk about. I do put kind of the most historical ones. I am currently trying to get a lot of the Japanese Grand Prix finals up there, and the Tag League The Best finals. Trying to get those up. And I have put up, there are a lot of matches, unfortunately, that are lost to time. Kind of suck.
Yeah, we're talking about VHS era stuff, so, you know.
Right.
So it couldn't even be kept even if it was recorded.
Correct. So there was a Norio Tateno Aja Kong match, which we will cover on the classics, but it wasn't on the classics. I had to pull some tape trading to get this short match, and that's an important passing of the torch kind of moment, which I bring this up because up to this point, Bull Nakano beat no stars. She didn't beat Chigusa Nagayo. She didn't beat Asuka. Did she come out looking badass? Sure. But I'll compare her to Dump Matsumoto, her senpai, if you will. The senpai of death. Bull Nakano is clearly the next heel. She is the next heel. She is the heel of All Japan Women right now. Dump Matsumoto beat Chigusa Nagayo. She pinned all the baby faces in All Japan Women, which gave her heel credibility and superstar power. Did Dump Matsumoto ever win the Big Red Belt, the All Pacific title? No, but she didn't need to, because she had beaten them prior, and she had that credibility. If I'm looking at the way the crowd reacts on this show to all these people and the just lack of engagement, it is very clear that All Japan Women has missed the boat on creating new stars, in really going through with pushing people to that next level, or at least giving them more than just a match chance. That's what I feel like we're about to go over here on this show in particular.
Right, especially when it comes to Bull, because the match we're going to cover, she does a lot of really things you would expect that Dump would have gotten a gasp out of the crowd or something for doing, and I just kind of didn't really react.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to mark out to a couple things on this show. Absolutely. We did love a couple things that happened on the show, but the crowd reaction is very apparent that All Japan Women is in trouble. And
right.
Kay, you've done a lot of research on this with the loss of ticket sales, the loss of a female audience, the loss of drawing houses outside of even a bigger show. Dude, this is the vacant 3WA title, or as I would say in the past, the WWWA title.
WWWA.
Not incorrect, but that's not what people say.
Just call it the red belt, because it's exactly what is the original red belt.
Right. You would expect a hot crowd for this. This is the vacant title. We didn't get that on this show.
No, it's even worse because I think the belt had been vacant for so long, I think the fans even forgot that there was no champion, it seemed like.
Right. So, Bull Nakano had previously lost the All-Pacific title to Norio Tateno before the end of the year. Mitsuki Nishiwaki has just won the Japan Grand Prix in the summer, knocking Bull Nakano out. So the main event is Bull Nakano versus Mitsuko Nishiwaki for the 3WA title that is vacant from the Lioness Asuka retirement. No one beat her to take the title.
Yeah, it's so stupid that they didn't. And Chigusa had the same thing. She had like the white belt too, and they both had the tag belts and both got vacated.
Correct. Tag titles got vacated. The white belt got vacated. Bull Nakano got the white belt, and I believe I believe did the Fire Jets win the tag? I don't remember.
I don't think it even matters at this point because the tag belts went from being an important, probably one of the most important belts in the company to just not mattering. And we'll probably see that more later on, how little those belts are going to start mattering when they stop having big name tag teams all the time, outside of like maybe one or two here and there. Just weird. I also want to point this out. Them having Chigusa and Asuka go out so strong on top is going to bite them in the ass, especially with Chigusa real hard later.
Yeah, you always, it always harkens back to go out on your back. You know, push or put over the next generation. For all intents purposes, All Japan has no reason to not beat them on their way out. These people are retired. There's no competition right now. Zero.
Right, they're not going to make any more money for you. They're no longer making money for you now because they're going to retire. Put somebody new over, and they're so blinded by the cash flow that they would squander not too long after this that it's baffling that they made these decisions, really.
Let's get into the show. Don't know where it took place. Just says AJW at Japan, January 4th, 1990.
Japan. I thought it was at Europe.
Yeah, right. All Japan Women Junior Heavyweight title. This is your essentially future belt for the Stardom fans out there. Mima Shimoda, the champion, versus Kaoru Ito. Okay, this match was garbage.
This match was awful. Like, it's even funnier in hindsight when you know where both of these careers go and who's still wrestling and who's retired.
Is she really retired, though?
Shimoda? I guess. I don't really think she shows up anymore. Kaoru sure as hell isn't. Just go watch a Diana show for that one.
Oh, it's depressing.
She can barely move. I mean, she wasn't exactly the most mobile later in her career either, but, you know.
So, Mima Shimoda, for all intents purposes, looks like she's just not in the mood with this green-as-grass, awful wrestler known as Kaoru Ito. Usually the AJW matches, we're like, okay, they're rookies, basically. Take them with a grain of salt. It's just going to be drop kick, scoop slam, shoot pin. We're done here in like 2 minutes. Dude, this is when it began for me of watching how Joshi wrestlers, especially in their early stages, take drop kicks. This is so funny. How bad Kaoru Ito just takes a Shimoda drop kick, or even gives Shimoda a drop kick. She's like 2 feet off. Her steps are staggered. When she takes a drop kick, she either falls diagonally, gets hit, and it's like a 3-second delay of falling down so she doesn't hit her head on the ropes. What a mess. It is comically terrible.
It's even funnier as we just saw a few other rookies come up, Shimoda being one of them and Manami Toyota being the other sort of big sort of rookie that came burst into, and those two are two different wrestlers. Like, I wouldn't even put this on Shimoda. This is all on Ito, and Ito is not a good rookie.
Does Ito actually ever get any good?
No. She gets decent at best. Like, I would argue she becomes a decent mid-carder. But she is, I don't know how long it takes her to get there, but my god. It's the first time I've looked at an AJW rookie, and I'm like, oh, you suck. You should have been in the dojo for at least another year.
I think so. I'm of that same mind. So, yeah, Shimoda wins. She has, like, zero celebration. She's like, I know that was terrible. I'm so sorry. And she leaves.
Yeah, Shimoda seemed, like, embarrassed by the match as a whole. And I feel sorry for her because, well, where she goes, you know, Ito wishes she went.
Right. Our next match is Manami Toyota, perhaps you've heard of her, versus Suzuka Manami, or Manami Suzuka, however way you feel like pronounce. It's like Tsukushi Haruka and Haruka Tsukushi these days.
Yeah, right.
I've heard it both ways so many times, I don't even know anymore.
I just go with it. It's whatever.
So, tough to tell here who the crowd was actually behind in this match. Nonetheless...
Shocking. both have the name Manami, so you have the chance Manami. You don't know which one's.
Yeah, well, there's Manami and Minami, and it's like I can't really tell, but we hear Manami chants.
So I have a thought.
Okay.
I would bet it's Manami Toyota because the tag team, the Tokyo Sweethearts, was very over to an extent. That's why they paired them together and pushed them as an entity until it stopped working.
Well, that was Shimoda and Toyota, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and I believe I said they look like the Jumping Bomb Angels, or at least that's what they were.
That is by design.
By design, yeah. Okay. Nonetheless, there was a cheering section for somebody. This match was boring. Manami kept... I'm sorry. Suzuka Manami, I should be very specific in this case, kept the entire thing grounded with leg holds that led to nothing but staying on the mat. I hate matches like this. They're
Reminds
so
me
dull.
of one of those New Japan matches that we watch sometimes.
It's like watching an old Riki Choshu match, and he's just sitting in front of him. He's got his leg locked, and they're just looking around at the crowd, and the crowd's just dead. That's kind of what we got here.
Yeah.
Manami Toyota did hit a couple exciting moves, to her credit. She did that really crazy leap to the top rope in the middle of the ring, and then she springs off it for crossbody. That got sort of a pop from the crowd. You could kind of tell they were so like half asleep, and then when that happened, they're like, whoa, wait a minute.
Something happened? Who knew? Manami Toyota is actually an exciting wrestler to watch. It's a wonder why she got so over and got so big.
Yeah. Manami Toyota wins off a roll-up, and Suzuka Manami is frustrated, clearly wants another match. That's what I took away from this. Is this a push from Manami Toyota to get her first, I guess, big singles victory over a mid-carder?
I would go with yes. I believe at this point, there was a very clear, even within the Tokyo Sweethearts, there was very much a clear, like, oh, one of these is more over than the other.
At this current time.
Yeah. Look, yeah. I believe it's much like, I don't want to say Crush Gals, because both were over, and Chigusa just happened to be a little bit more over. Maybe the Bomb Angels, but I don't know which one of those was more over from the start. I want to say Tatena was always kind of the most over one, and that's why they kind of were more high on putting her front and center.
Not correct.
Not correct.
Yeah, just like how I kind of went on that Tateno rant before, Yamazaki at the beginning was way more over as the Jumping Bomb Angel because she was much faster and more exciting, and she usually started off matches. Tateno took over kind of after they came back from America. And that's when, she grew her hair out. They had the big gear change. That's when they actually almost started beating the Crush Gals.
Almost. The key word there. Can't beat the moneymaker.
No, you can't beat them. No, that's not allowed. Crush Gals crush everybody.
No. Right. It's in the name, I guess. Well, the thing with the Tokyo Sweethearts is it's very interesting because as a team, they were put together because they had one really exciting debut match. Like, to the point where I believe it got some heat backstage with the veterans because they were the opening match and the crowd was really hot for them. And the vets were trying to figure out how they were going to follow up on that. I believe the match after that was where the heat was because they couldn't follow it up. The problem is that Tokyo Sweethearts never actually reached that height again as a team. They were decent, but the chemistry was clearly off at times. It's kind of funny how Manami Toyota and her arch rival, Yamada had a better chemistry.
So the next match is Akira Hokuto teaming with Yumiko Hota. Seemingly rivals now teamed up, mostly because Suzuka Manami and Nishiwaki are in singles matches on this show. They're taking on the team of Dream Orca, Etsuko Mita, and Toshio Yamada. Boy, Hota was a mess in this match.
Oh, yeah, she was. Ooh.
She was missing elbow drops or two. Quite a few other things, yeah. She was missing kicks. She was looking like she was shoot kicking her opponents out of some kind of frustration at times. So I thought about this. We're about to get into an era, and they've kind of touched on this before with the shoot fighting elements within AJW. Is this some sort of story going on between Hota and Yamada with their whole kickboxing kind of shoot background kind of thing, because there was a lot of shit talking going on specifically between those two and interruptions between those two in their moves.
I wouldn't be shocked. This is sort of how they build some storylines anyway, so it kind of goes with the sort of motif that they normally go with to build these up.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is at least from Hota, it looked a little more shooty than it did working an angle at times. And that's where I sort of wonder if maybe she took it a little too far, and that was kind of it.
Yeah, and the reason why I'm kind of hesitant to believe it's a story element is I don't believe Hota and Yamada, and I tried researching it, I don't think it goes anywhere. We never see
I don't think
a
it does
major
either.
singles match between the two. There's no long-standing rivalry that we see between Hota and Yamada. Not that I was able to find.
Toyota. Yamada's rival is always Toyota.
Right. So maybe there's a house show kind of circuit that happened that is just lost to tape. Lost tapes, I should say.
Oh, the weird thing here is with Hota is we would go on later to find that she's quite the individual that likes to do a lot of really crappy things in the ring when she gets frustrated. That is a thing with her. I wouldn't say she always shoots on people, but she does tend to let her frustrations come out in matches at times. That she does have a record for that.
Is that your own speculation, or is this through actual records and documents?
A mixture of both. I mean, it's obviously the Joshi scene, so not everything gets out. But if you look at some of her matches, there's a clear line between working and her getting frustrated and taking it out a little bit. I don't think she ever goes so far as to hurt people like
very
bad.
Unfortunate.
She does get a little stiffer than she ought to at times.
It's very unfortunate that we have to kind of put pieces together ourselves with so much that is lost, because, man, when you talk about kind of the Meltzers of the world, the Fumis, they're kind of the only people that are involved in keeping up this history and backstage and just trying to put their resources together for historical purposes.
Right, and even the both of them don't have everything, because things, especially back then, were so keep it kayfabe,
right.
keep it in the back. That's why stuff like the Gaia Girls documentary was such a huge deal and got Chigusa so much like heat in the public eye over in Japan, believe it or not.
Yeah, so we're kind of I mean, we talk about a lot of it in the Joshi 2010s on the Patreon. Luckily, that's more recent. It's not from 35 plus years ago.
But it's just hard to find information on that because it's not so widely covered.
So one thing I'm more excited to find out is, what did these journalists like Meltzer actually able to dig up? Because as the 90s go on, he gets more information, because 90s All Japan gets some buzz in the wrestling world with a lot of their exciting matches, exciting wrestlers, etc. So perhaps we'll find out more about Hota. Perhaps not, because she wasn't as big a star. But that's going to be interesting. A lot of it's speculation on our parts with what we're seeing and trying to interpret, and just the limited reading that's available. So, on to the match.
Well, a lot of my speculation on Hota, comes a lot from hindsight stuff. So stuff that we know now, or things I've talked about now in retrospect. So
right, the whole
who knows how true it is.
fallout, and
yeah, a lot of that's a lot of hearsay, or people in attendance, Japanese fans in attendance, reporting on things. And I mean, who knows how accurate that is, but you know.
Yeah, it's up to yourself to okay, I tend to believe this more, maybe that less, kind of. I mean, it's really all up to you. So, let's see. Back to the match. Lots of heat on Mita for the first half, or a Yamada hot tag. Then it's Yamada doing holds on Hota. Didn't last too long, though. Hota's selling of a sleeper hold here was absolutely hysterical. Arms flailing, hits the ropes, does a wacky comical stagger run, arms flailing again. She gets caught, and then Hota slips to the mat and falls on her back. Very funny. I had to watch this at least 3 times.
It's like something out of a Benny Hills cartoon.
Oh, I can hear the music now with all this visually going on. Absolutely funny. The match goes 50-50 from there. Match finishes with a crossbody blunder by Yamada. Hits her own partner Mita. This spelled the end for the Dream Orca pair. Hoda hits a top rope elbow strike as Hokuto kind of throws her off the ropes. Tags in Hokuto, who's on the top rope. Finishes her off with a front drop kick. Your winners, Hota and Hokuto. Team Double H.
Double H, not Triple H.
No, I wouldn't dare call him that.
So it's funny that you mentioned the splitting of Dream Orca, because Yamada goes on to be more of a singles wrestler and teams with Toyota later. Mita goes with the former partner of Toyota, Shimoda, and becomes a bigger tag team.
LCO, yes.
Yeah, it's very unpronounceable Spanish names like La Cockroaches Orientals or something like that.
La Cockroaches Orientals.
I'm pretty sure I'm butchering the hell out of that. Okay. I just call them LCO like everyone else.
Yeah, well, I think when I'm done with my Starcade one, I'm gonna do some LLPW stuff. That sounds like a lot of fun to get into.
Oh yeah, especially because we might get into some of that here in the classics. LLPW is an interesting one.
Yeah, I think for the purpose of this podcast and the free stuff, it's probably more important to stick to Gaia when that comes around, and then a lot of the smaller stuff we'll put that on the Patreon, because that will require a little bit more research and tape trading, that kind of thing.
Right, I'm thinking about if we're not going to cover JWP as much, I'm thinking about doing that with the 90s JWP stuff, because that stuff fascinates me a lot.
Yeah. On to the main event. 3WA WWWA singles title. Tournament
Red belt.
Final. Red belt. Championship vacant. Bull Nakano versus Mitsuku Nishiwaki. Hope you got a laugh out of that, Kay, at least.
I did. Make it quite the champion here. Hold the belt for a while.
I've just enjoyed going back and listening to myself kind of get so much wrong and learn along the way. I'm laughing at myself in hindsight. It's very funny. I enjoy it.
It's a learning experience, but it's very funny. The WWWA.
So here we have evolved to Biker Bull Nakano with her studded War Final Bull on the back of the leather jacket. All kind of that quartz diamond stud situation.
Biker Kano, as I've dubbed her.
Biker Kano?
Biker Kano.
Yeah.
Bad bitch Kano.
Well, I've been trying to find a lot of those Japanese Grand Prix and Tag League the Best finals, and there's the 85 final that is on the classics that we did cover here. Bull Nakano and Dump Matsumoto are in 80s biker gear, so this is the 90s upgrade.
Well, how about War Kano?
No, she needs to get. That's like camo paint. I would say.
You're right. Biker Kano fits. Biker Kano.
90s biker Kano, because she's done 80s.
90s biker. Badass Biker Kano.
So this is where the famous gif of Bull Nakano you can find, where she does the whole heel monster ripper Dump Matsumoto thing, where grabs all the flowers from the people in the ring, just throws them to the side. Give me your fucking flowers. This is war about to go into here.
It's funny as the girls holding the flowers try not to laugh as she does it.
Yeah. So this is Bull Nishiwaki feud, at least 18 months in the making to this point. They've beaten each other in tag matches. Bull beat her for the vacant All Pacific title. Then Nishiwaki beat her in the Japan Grand Prix. So 1-1 in the last year, basically. Nishiwaki has spent the last 12 months being built up as the major next challenger for All Japan Women. My interpretation from booking and trajectory, that kind of thing. Safe to say?
It's safe to say. They're definitely trying to push her. It doesn't work, obviously, but they're definitely trying.
Bull Nakano recently lost the All-Pacific title to Norio Tateno back in November. Lost the tape. Sorry to say. So Nishiwaki rushed the ring, attacks Bull. She goes for a crossbody, but Bull drops the ropes and she flies to the outside. A hot start to this match. The nurses and doctors all tend to Nishiwaki. That foolish woman she is, doing the Tateno crossbody crash and burn spot. And so Nishiwaki gets back into the ring to start the match, but she's busted open. Dusty Rhodes style. She's done the bleed job.
Done the bleed job.
Yes, you heard me.
I heard you, yeah.
From there, this match isn't good. It's Bull beating the shit out of her, and Nishiwaki later resorts to childish kind of runaway tactics to make Bull frustrated. Okay, I did not like this match. I really can't decide. I may have mentioned this on the podcast before. I can't decide if Nishiwaki is actually bad. I don't think she's bad, but she's definitely not good.
I'd say she's average, pushed above her means.
As we discussed, All Japan women have to push somebody.
Right. And I feel like at this point you can start seeing their assessment of talent being a little off more than it normally was. I think this match was bad, period. Like you had said, like it was a cool showcase for badass Bull, but when the crowd's not reacting, you're not really doing anything. It's not kind of fails in its objective to make Bull come off as this monster gasp crowd, hide the children sort of deal. I think the blood had a lot to do with it. You could tell that Nishiwaki couldn't see, and so she was messing a lot of things up. Yeah, there was several times where she would do a move and she would miss. She'd be a little off. And I think it's because she bladed herself so good that she couldn't see half the match.
Well, Bull Nakano was not short on biting and attacking the wound, making her bleed even more. The problem with this, besides a short half-crab sequence by Nishiwaki, this was just way one-sided, as Bull bleeds this chick dry, right? There's a spot where Bull is hang-choking her off the apron, and then drops her to the floor. Then she smiles, kind of chuckles a little bit, and she sucks the blood off her pinky finger. And I thought to myself, yeah, Bull's winning this title. As she should.
Oh, yeah, no, she should definitely. You know, thinking back on this and the discussion we just had, I wonder if this is the build-up to this match. They realized Nishiwaki's not going to cut it, so let's make this a showcase for Bull Nakano.
Yeah, could be.
And that's why we're seeing this the way that's why the match was booked the way it was. Like, well, we're putting the belt on Bull, so let's just make her come off as this monster, and well, screw Nishiwaki, she didn't make it.
It's very possible. I wouldn't put it past that mindset. After some tending to, the match kind of goes 50-50 for some arm work, both doing some power moves. Sure never feels like it, though. Bull wins off a shoulder-driving power bomb. None of Nishiwaki's near falls got even a gasp from the crowd. Nobody bought it.
Oh, not even the blood spot where she was licking the blood. Like, wouldn't Dump, if Dump did that, to get a gasp from the crowd?
Oh, yeah, absolutely would have.
Bull got nothing. She got nothing.
They're just like, whatever.
Yeah, we've seen this before.
Yeah. New World Champ, really the only person it could have been at this stage of the game. And I feel like I should play the Bull Nakano drop because she is now the new champion. So here I go. I do want to mention that there was no interference in this match. No Grizzly. No Bison, no Aja Kong, nobody.
They were ringside.
Yeah.
They just didn't do anything. I guess because it was so one-sided, they didn't need to do anything.
Yeah, right? It's like, we don't need to help this bit.
Yeah, she's already murdered her. We don't need to murder her more. Otherwise, we'll get murdered because Bull wants to murder.
Yeah. So I thought as a show as a whole, it was very disappointing. Not great wrestling going on. Nobody seems to be coming out as a star except Bull Nakano, but she should be way bigger than where she is at this point in time.
Right. And so an interesting note after coming out of this, I'd imagine, is if you look at the crowd, we see some women, but we'll see a lot less of them going forward because like there's obvious people they're cheering for, like the Hokutos, the people that kind of look like the Crush Gals in a way. Even Hota, I think, got a little bit of a reaction because of her look, not because of her skill. You can tell the women are trying to attach themselves to somebody.
Right. And
it just a shame that the two people it seemed they attached themselves to sucked and weren't good and didn't get pushed until much later. It's very interesting. And I think another misconception is that AJW, because the wrestling was so good in the 90s, was selling out on their own. There's a lot of help they need from a lot of the other companies to have super cards to do some of those shows. Big Egg being the biggest example of that. Can't do Big Egg on just AJW alone. They weren't big enough or popular enough.
Let's get on to New Japan through the 90s, baby. Your favorite part, Kay.
Yeah, whoa.
Here we go. Yes, New Japan in the 90s, and we did watch 2 All Japan Pro Wrestling matches from the summer of 1994. Friday, June 3rd, 1994, All Japan Pro Wrestling, Budokan Hall, kind of the only place they hang out for these big matches. It is Mitsuru Misawa defending the Triple Crown against Toshiaki Kawada. This was
The match was good.
Yes, this was excellent, and we'll get into a certain star rating this match got. This was the follow-up title match after Kawada beat Steve Williams in the Champion Carnival previously that we covered on the podcast. I believe that was the same one, or the last time we discussed All Japan, I believe. Bring up Steve Williams here in a second, too. So they start off hot, 50-50 even. Misawa does some flippy shit, and Kawada keeps his cool. This crowd is electric.
They popped and were on fire, and the match hadn't even really started. They were like a minute in, and the crowd's like red hot, like you thought the finish was coming.
Yes. Crowd is way into both guys. These two work and keep the crowd hot. No long 10-minute rest holds in the middle of the ring. No chin locks. None of that bullshit that we'll discuss for a certain match later. It's a match that delves into Kawada in control 90% of this. I was very shocked how much Kawada ran this match. He consistently hits a series of either strikes, and he follows up with a rare kind of short hold, but then he hits a move of some kind, like a backdrop, a fist drop off the middle rope. It's mostly as a set piece, if I'm to put a word to it, to keep that flow in the match. Done very well, I must say. Every once in a while, Misawa would hit an elbow strike, because as we know, elbow is God.
Elbow is God.
But as soon as Misawa would try a move, not his elbow strike, a move, Kawada would counter. It's just Kawada in control. Very interesting match sequence here, I must say.
Yeah, the crowd seemed to be into both guys, but they were definitely into Misawa. You can tell him being so far behind most of the match, but still having those few comeback spots with the elbows was what was getting the crowd to be even hotter.
Oh, they wanted a Misawa comeback bad.
Oh boy, he kept teasing on it, and man, this was some really good. And even the guy on the announcer was losing his shit. His voice was going, and you know what, a contrast. Boy, this is a contrast to New Japan.
Commentary's insane. Crowd's insane. Misawa hit a total of 3 moves in this match. He hit 1 German, 1 Tiger Driver, and 1 Tiger Suplex. That's it. Wada kicked out. Then the finishing stretch finally comes, because this is some King's Road shit here, boy. Wada strikes and kicks the shit out of Misawa in the corner. Misawa leaps up for a desperate elbow strike. And instead of following up with a move, as we've seen all match, because he did hit 1 German, 1 Tiger Driver, 1 Tiger Suplex. This time, instead of trying to do another move, he just continues hitting elbow strikes.
I'd go with what works. The elbow strikes were clearly what was getting him there, right?
Yeah, he figured it out. So, elbow strikes Kawada until KOing him, of sort. Actually KO him, but Kawada's down. He's been elbow struck many, many times now in a row. Misawa lifts him up, hits 1 last Tiger Driver, so his second repeat move of the match. That's it. Drives Kawada's head and neck straight into the fucking mat. Shocked he didn't break his neck on this. Misawa wins a great match. This sucker got 6 stars in the Observer, by the way.
Broke that scale before the Kenny Omega Okada match did.
Right.
Who knew?
Broke the scale back then. And this is the best match I've seen on this 90s journey of All Japan and New Japan. Shit just keeps getting better.
Oh, yeah. Like, I'd asked you, I think it was after this match, I remember. It's like, man, was All Japan more popular? They had to be more popular than New Japan, right, at this time. Like, they had to be the popular, the hot shit, because crowd reactions are so night and day that I'm like, I don't understand how more New Japan fans weren't just jumping over to All Japan.
Yeah, and as far as I'm aware with how the fandom was at the time and how they were able to sell tickets, All Japan would outsell New Japan on the house show circuit because they had bigger stars, but New Japan still had the reputation for the largest of shows. So they'd sell out the Tokyo Dome still and do shows like that. The house show business was struggling, as far as I could tell in my research. I found that pretty interesting because All Japan just would always run the Budokan, which does have a cap to it, while New Japan would run much larger showcases.
Yeah, because it's like outside of the juniors, the crowds for New Japan shows are like dead for like maybe one or two spots where they pop up. I'm like, man, they like the juniors. I wonder why some of these people just aren't hopping over to All Japan, because that's literally the same reaction the juniors get the entire match.
Yeah. Well, I will say New Japan has a much deeper roster. The problem is no one's as big as Mitsuharu Misawa, Toshiaki Kawada, etc.
It's so weird how big of a difference is and how high regard New Japan stuff is held as old stuff, and it just doesn't seem like it's that good.
Well, I mean, there's a reason why people constantly reference All Japan Pro Wrestling Triple Crown matches in the early to or the 90s in general. While 90s New Japan, it does have a reverence to it, but you never hear people talk, oh man, remember that Shinya Hashimoto, Keiji Muto IWGP title match from 1990 whatever? No, you don't hear that. You hear about Kawada Misawa, June 94, Budokan Hall. That's what you hear. So let's move on to July 28th, 94. Still Budokan Hall, a month later. It's Steve Williams now challenging for Misawa. And I went on a bunch of forums here to see what kind of the fandom was and the Observer. And there was a major question at the time. Should Kawada, in the previous month, have beaten Misawa for the title? Because Misawa's held this title for like 2 years at this point. He's had it a long time. And Kawada was very over. And that would have put him to the next level, right? And I got to thinking, well, there's not a deep roster in All Japan Pro Wrestling. At least not from my perspective. You have Misawa, you have Kawada, you have Taue, you have an aging on his way out, definitely on his way out, Terry Gordy. Stan Hansen's pretty much gone at this point. You need to make new stars, and there's no Gaijins. Not of that level, right? So here we are, it's Steve Williams challenging. It all made sense, at least to me, 1 month later. So after the successful defense of Kawada, Steve Williams is the next big opponent. Steve Williams, whom just lost in the finals of the Champion Carnival. Misawa to this point has held the Triple Crown for 2 years, basically. This match was to showcase the growth and dominance of old Doc, aka Steve Williams. The first half was very much powerhouse dominance from Doc over a lot of Misawa selling. Not as many shutdown comebacks as the Kawada match that we just discussed, which made it a much slower pace. How does the slower pace with Steve Williams come off to UK?
It didn't kill it for me, and that's normally a thing that would kill a match for me, but I think it always depends on how the pacing is and like what's going on. The slow pacing, if it's just a bunch of headlocks and chin locks, then it kills me. But if there's a reason, like there's like a strategy, it seems, then it sort of doesn't lose it for me, because then I'm engaged, at least in how the strategy is going to work going forward, and how the other person then is going to get out of the strategy and work around it. It didn't bother me.
So one thing I noticed, and one thing I'd like to mention is, much like what we saw in the Steve Williams-Kawada match, Champion Carnival, Doc has gotten so much better at molding this slower pace of his with power moves, and mixing that with transitions to make the slow pace work and have impact. It's not a struggle. I wouldn't put struggle as the word. Impact. Everything feels like it hits hard and it dominates the opponent. Can't really say that for a lot of heavyweights and the way heavyweight gaijin specifically work. I guess I got that with Vader, in the 80s and 90s in New Japan, and that's what made Vader so interesting to watch. I love Vader, Kay. Absolutely love Vader. He's in my top 5 of favorites of all time now.
That's interesting. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I will say this. Slower paced matches, especially like big monster powerhouse ones, don't tend to kill it for me as much. Good example. I think a recent example, Micah versus Utami, was a pretty slow match, technically speaking, by Stardom standards. And it being just two people powering each other up and power moving each other and trying to beat each other down with power moves, it works.
So just when the match was getting to the point of dragging, and we were watching this together, I go, I think this match is beginning to drag a little bit. Almost the second after I say that, Misawa starts that King's Road comeback. Elbow strikes are a heavy reliance once again, but Doc can't be put down the same as Kawada. So Doc hits a massive back lariat, and Kawada rolls out of the ring. How perfect timing was this?
It was like right on the money. Like as soon as the words left your mouth, the comeback started.
Fucking awesome. Williams kind of walks around the ring a little bit, and then this dude, camera pans out, and this dude does the smoothest 3-step suicide dive you've ever seen. Fucking popped the hell out of me. It's like, what the fuck is he doing?
Well, also the camera angle was perfect because you just saw him disappear through the ropes. It was kind of funny, actually.
Loved it. He follows this up with a top rope shoulder block as right after he throws Misawa back in the ring. Spinning sit-out powerbomb. I thought that I totally bought this as the finish.
Yeah, no, it was very close.
Yeah.
Very close near fall.
Big comeback from Misawa ensues from here, though, because he had a monstrous kick out of that sit-out powerbomb. But Williams kills him with a backdrop driver. And this move is fucking like the most devastating thing you'll come to realize in All Japan, and especially in Noah, if we ever get to that point. So Misawa channels some fighting spirit to get up, like kind of that almost immediate situation. But he does one of my favorite sells in wrestling. Fighting spirit gets up, but he immediately loses his balance, and Misawa takes this a step further, falls through the ropes to the floor, and it looks like he's knocked unconscious. Referee's out there slapping his face. Misawa!
Wake up! Get the smelling salts.
I'm thinking, will he actually come back from this? It's good storytelling. And it sure looked like Misawa was. I didn't think Williams for a second was winning this match. And I love not doing full research and spoiling myself on this match, is not like putting time frames together in my head of, certain matches I've seen before. I thought Misawa was winning this match because I'm like, man, this is set up too perfectly for Misawa to just kind of hit one big elbow, get him in a tiger driver, pin him away, big hero, puts the Gaijin away. So he fights back, one big final backdrop driver from Steve Williams, and puts the champ away. New champ, shock victory. Holy crap, Steve Williams is the Triple Crown champion, ends the 2-year reign of Misawa. I was shocked.
The crowd bum rushes to the side of the ring. I remember I was asking that. I saw a bunch of people just crowding around the side of the ring. They were jumping the guardrail.
Oh, yeah.
They were shocked. And it didn't seem like they were angry either. It seemed like they were trying to watch the moment. They wanted to watch closer. They were captured by it all. Which is, again, stark contrast to New Japan. The crowd is so enthralled by the story that was told, or they felt the need to hop the guardrail because they wanted to see it closer because they could not believe what had happened in front of them.
Oh, yeah. He gets this giant, big, globe-spiked trophy that's as big as him. He holds it in the air with one hand, parades around the ring with his new 3 titles, the Triple Crown. A new star at the top of All Japan has been made. Now you have Kawada chasing possibly 2 guys for his story. Misawa. So you got at least 3 big powerhouse stars here, and then the natural Taue and company that's below. There's still the rise of Kobashi we haven't met, so there's that story going on there. And I believe a young Jun Akiyama starting to emerge.
Yeah, we saw Baby Akiyama on the side there, at ringside.
Let's get on to New Japan in 1994. A little less exciting, I would say. August 5th, 1994, the Tokyo Ryogoku G1 Climax A Block Finals. It's Riki Chosu versus Keiji Muto. So this story was a must-win situation from Keiji Muto to move on. We got some stakes here, Kay.
Didn't feel like it, though.
But unfortunately, this is Riki Chosu. He's in his 40s. We're going to the ground. It's very boring mat work for most of this match. The entire beginning is basically Chosu leg lock head scissors holds. The first half of this was almost nothing. I'm finding it really hard to get into these Chosu Fujinami 90s matches over their 80s ones because of what the juniors are doing and what we're seeing in contrast to All Japan Pro Wrestling. You are not alone in this, Kay.
Actually, I'm surprised that I'm not alone because I went and I took a gander because, like, surely I can't be alone in thinking that this is bad. Like, this is not good, especially in contrast to what's going on around it all. It's not happening in a vacuum. You got the juniors right below them, and you've got All Japan in competition. And there are people that like this, like, a lot. They're like,
sure.
This is the peak of New Japan stuff. This is good Puresu. I'm like, this is ambient. I think I've got to the point where I'm calling some of these. I have a scale now. I have
that's funny.
1 to 10 and ambient. If the match is losing me so much that I'd rather take a nap, and that's more entertaining to me, it's an ambient score. And this match got an ambient for me. It's awful. It's just
oh yeah.
The technical work isn't awful. They're not botching. They're not doing terrible things, right? There's no miscommunication. It's just so boring. I'd rather do literally anything else.
It's tough. The thing is, when I'm watching old wrestling from the 80s, I have this style in my head. The style, the way things were booked, the way the wrestlers moved. That's all well and good, right? I can, like, watching Chosu and Fujinami in the 80s, this is perfect for the 80s, right? Ric Flair, Harley Race, I don't expect Ric Flair and Harley Race to be doing monstrous flips like Jushin Thunder Liger, right? In the 90s, there is a clear evolution of the wrestling game and what's getting over with the crowd. If the crowd is dead, we might as well be in an empty arena. So watching the juniors is way more exciting. We'll get to a juniors match, which is a good example of the contrast and what's getting over with the crowd and why it's so popular and why the juniors specifically are held in such regard compared to, like, you don't hear anyone talk about the 1994 G1 Climax A-Block Finals, Riki Chosu, Keiji Muto, a battle of the main event, and they've had their rivalry. You don't hear about that.
It's funny because I specifically looked up this match and people's reaction that I saw to this match because I was very confused, and I can only remember this match because we had just watched it. And people were like, oh yeah, Keiji Muto is so good. Keiji Muto is so good. I'm like, no, he's boring. He's better when he has the face paint on because he does a little bit more exciting shit and the crowd likes it. And it's obvious why that's over.
When people say Keiji Muto is good, it's actually the Great Muta, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, Keiji Muto is boring. He is so boring. I'm like, dude, just put the face paint on and stop being Keiji Muto. You're boring as yourself.
So 11 minutes in, we finally start getting something with outside brawling. A lariat counter from Chosu off the Muto sprint. I did laugh at that one. He had it scouted, Kay.
He did. He had it scouted. Too bad he didn't have a face paint on it. Otherwise, he couldn't have that scouted.
Yeah, it wasn't the big long ramp that we see at the Tokyo Dome in which Muto, like, goes crazy afterwards. This is like a hallway to the back. It's really funny. So it's more nothing till the final 2 minutes, or as I call it, the New Japan Pro Wrestling Special. Couple lariats from Chosu into the Scorpion Deathlock. That's Chosu's only thing he does. He does a couple lariats and he locks in the Scorpion Deathlock. Muto rope breaks one, and then does a real cool reversal off the second Scorpion Deathlock attempt and repositions his legs because they're a little bit loose, and he locks in a figure four. This was cool. I really like this. Chosu fights and fights. Great selling by both guys. I love the selling here. Chosu flips over. Referee Tiger Hattori calls for the bell just as Chosu is about to grab the ropes, a controversial finish. Trash is thrown in the ring. All right, so I love this finish, but the match was dull as dirt for 90% of it. And this is a problem I'm finding with these New Japan main events, is you get 90% of the match is just on the mat, they're doing nothing, and they always have a good finish, and it's always unique, interesting. Or they'll start off really hot for 90 seconds, and then they'll do nothing. It's almost like you can watch just the last 3 minutes. You can just clip out you see the entrances, clip out the match or you once they get the 90-second hot stuff, then you can clip all the way to the last couple minutes, and you're golden. That's a great match.
Yeah, so what's weird and what's bad about the way those are structured is someone like myself, once you've lost me, and you've lost me hard, I don't pay attention to the ending, so once you've got me kind of like paying attention, I don't care anymore. I'm less invested because I'm not watching the entire match. While we were watching this, I was looking at my phone.
Oh,
until
yeah,
you started really exciting things, and then I looked up and I saw the fucking Muto run down the hallway with the bad camera that barely got any of it because it's a hallway with crowds next to it. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Went back to my phone. It lost me. How? That's a terrible way to structure a match, because what you're doing is you're like, hey, cool, I'm excited for the first 30 seconds. Oh, you lost me? I'm now looking at my phone. So when an exciting thing does happen, I'm not as engaged, and so it didn't even matter.
Right. So, unfortunately for Muto, Chono did win his match to win A Block and put him in the finals. August 7th, 1994, G1 Climax Finals. It's Masahiro Chono, Mr. G1. We're about to discover why he's called that. Versus Power Warrior, a.k.a. Kensuke Sasaki. He's still doing the Road Warriors gimmick. Filling in for Animal. So they start hot, hit hard, really funny rope running hug spot where Sasaki gets totally lost, doesn't know what to do. And then Chono rips the shoulder tape off. This is very cool stuff. Let's go, I'm into this. And then, of course, it's down to the holds. Very unfortunate. Occasionally there's a spot or two for a move, but again, this is a chore to get through a little bit. I'm really into the history of all this, but these matches just make it so tough sometimes. Luckily for a longer ending stretch, because both guys' signature submission moves are over. So it did lead to at least some pop from the crowd. Crowd gets sooner into this match than usual, at least compared to the Chosu Muto match and other main events that we've seen on this journey. The finishing moment of Chono, don't mind my incorrect name there in the notes, Chono daring to take Sasaki's power lariats. Takes a couple, doesn't knock him down, and then he Yakuza boots him back after taking the damage. Good old New Japan strong style type stuff here. He runs to the corner, big ugly DDT, wrenches in a big time STF. Very cool spot. G1 winner again. Good finish. It was okay, I suppose. I wasn't as bored as the Chosu Muto match. It was a G1 Climax final. Not noted as the final on New Japan World, funny enough.
Yeah, so the weird thing about this is it actually got me in like the first 30 seconds when they were doing all the cool power shit.
Yeah, of course.
And then once they slowed it down, I rolled my eyes and immediately just disengaged from the match because because we watched these two matches back to back. And so immediately I'm like, fuck this, I'm disengaged.
Yeah.
So like I almost missed the ending because I wasn't paying attention because I was so done with this style of match structure.
Well, luckily their submissions are the finish, so you get into it quicker. October 18th, we've moved on. Okayama Prefecture Gymnasium, 1994, Super Junior Tag League Game Championship. So, this is the 1994 Super Grade Junior Heavyweight Tag League, which was a round-robin tournament hosted by New Japan. It was held from October 9th to October 18th, 1994, and they wouldn't bring the junior tag back until 2010. Because during the 90s, the juniors, there were so many good ones, they could have a tournament to showcase them. Only the finals is on New Japan World. We had such teams. You wanted to say something?
I was like, why wouldn't they put more of that up? What, they get all these boring shit up here. Why not put the exciting stuff up?
Well, they don't have a lot of the G1 up there either. They only have generally the finals or some. I guess it's very strange. So I'm gonna go over the I don't know how the points worked in this, but I'm gonna say the points anyways and go from the bottom to the top. Yuki Ishikawa and Soichi Funaki, 0 points. Yes, that Funaki, I believe. Masayoshi Motega and Kamikaze got 9 points. El Samurai and Flying Scorpio, 10 points. Our boy Super Delphin and Taka Michinoku, I would love to see that team, got 13 points. Norio Hanaga and Gran Hamada got 17. Commentary was very much pushing those two as stars in this tournament. Dean Malenko, oddly enough, didn't pair with Wild Pegasus, aka Chris Benoit. He teamed with Tokimitsu Ishizawa. They got 26 points. Wild Pegasus teamed with Shinjiro Otani. They got 26 points. And the Great Sasuke teamed with Black Tiger. Again, Black Tiger not teaming with his Gaijin brethren. They got 29 points. So here we are, it's the finals. It's Pegasus and Otani against Great Sasuke and Black Tiger. So yes, we get Otani versus Sasuke and Pegasus versus Eddie Guerrero, essentially. Benoit, Eddie Guerrero. Shocker, K. Eddie Guerrero and Benoit worked really well together, and so did Otani and Sasuke.
Who knew? It's almost like these two have a history of working with each other and training with each other. Shocking. Dude,
the Benoit chops on Sasuke and Tiger were excellent. I fucking loved it. Otani is the greenest guy in this match, so maybe that's why he was with Benoit. They got to work. They worked well together. Got through a whole tournament. It was, for all intents and purposes, a tornado tag of just getting shit in. It was a lot of fun.
I enjoyed this match. It's and the crowd seemed to really enjoy this too. So it's kind of funny how that works. They were popping for literally everything.
Oh yeah, it started hot with some outside brawling. There was some chair shit going on. They were doing top rope dives. They were doing double team maneuvers. Crowd was always into this. They never let off. Match was simply fun and exciting. And then at the end, Eddie Guerrero saved Otani's life because they were doing like a super doomsday Hurricane Rana spot. And so to prevent Otani landing on his neck, Eddie just kind of held him because he knew he wasn't going to get the rotation. Just kind of power bombs him down a little bit soft. Made it seem like Otani sort of did damage to Guerrero here. And so Otani got up, hit a big dragon suplex, got the win for his team. Pegasus and Otani are your junior tag league champions. Real good match with, damn it, just missed that finish. Imagine if that finish went down the way they wanted it to.
Oh, it would have been crazy. I think the coolest part was every time somebody did, because there was several instances where the wrestlers did that spinning back kick thing, crowd popped so hard for that, to the point where I think they were doing it on purpose, like as many times they were doing it, because the crowd kept popping for it. You would hear an audible every time they did it. It's, again, I'm assuming these guys open for the heavyweights. Boy, you talk about going hot and cooling the crowd down later on.
Oh yeah. That'll finish our New Japan retro journey. The next episode in the archives, we're finishing 1994. 4 years into this journey already. We're almost at the halfway point for New Japan. Went by quick. Let's play. Yeah? No, I mean...
It's what Ambien does to you, I guess. You just don't realize it until you wake up.
Time to play the Nitro drop. It is that time. It is that time of night. Okay, it's WCW Nitro, February 15th, 1999.
Yeah. Before we get started, I want to point something out that you tend to do when we watch Nitro. Is there a reason why we always watch it on Mondays? Do you want me to just watch Raw instead? Because it's almost like the same show at this point.
I don't know what you're talking about.
We always watch Nitro on Mondays, and I get that's the thing, but damn it, it's like I'm watching Raw. I might as well just watch Raw, too.
You're not watching Raw. You're watching Nitro, baby.
What's the difference at this point?
From Tampa Bay, Florida, at the fairgrounds with an attendance of 2,500.
Ooh, that's not a good attendance.
Well, I mean, that's how much they could fit in this tiny place. Not sure why they would. Anyways. Meanwhile, on WWF Raw, it's the day after St. Valentine's Day Massacre or whatever, where the main event was Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Vince McMahon. On Raw tonight, it's Rock, the WWF champion, versus Mankind in a ladder match for the WWF title. And the Giant, aka Big Show, has showed up. He has defected from WCW officially, and he's now on Monday Night Raw. Apparently, the show wasn't that bad.
Well, with the main event title match and a ladder involved, I wonder what Nitro is going to throw as a main event in contrast.
Oh, yeah, we'll get there. So, for reference, we're still building up to this Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan Super Brawl match, and spoiler, the buy rate for WCW Super Brawl beats Vince McMahon versus Steve Austin, St. Valentine's Day Massacre, and it's the last time, I believe, WCW will beat a WWF pay-per-view in buy rate.
I am literally shocked by that.
Yeah, oh yeah, I'm actually shocked too, because we'll get to this build, and holy fuck. Let's dive right into it. So, the rip we have informs us that due to original production technical difficulties, this show is incomplete.
Way to Nitro.
I love it. And apparently, the thing we missed was Mang and Barbarian versus Horace and Stevie Ray for that tag title tournament thing, and it went on for like 20 minutes. So that's what we missed, Kay. Just a junk match.
So nothing.
We missed nothing. So at least we were saved half an hour of our time. It's the go-home show for Super Brawl.
What?
Oh yeah, we finally made it.
I think the weird part was, last time, like the last night show we watched, I think you had said it was like 2 weeks added so. And then when it was, it's the go-home show. What?
Yeah, it is 2 weeks. It has been 2 weeks.
The build doesn't make it feel like it.
You never get a good feel for how, because Nitro doesn't build anything except maybe a main event, maybe.
Kind of, sort of, maybe.
Yeah, you don't feel like a pay-per-view's coming. It's just, oh, it's Sunday. All right, I guess. Commentary informs us of good news. Good news, Kay. Kimberly, launched from the car last week, is all fucked up, but she's alive. That's good news, right?
I mean, I guess.
So funny. We got good news. She has lacerations and a concussion, and it's just good news. She's still alive.
She's not dead, guys, so she still has a pulse, so good news.
Yeah. The quality of this Nitro was atrocious.
I think that's being too nice.
It was horrid.
I think the word I would use for it is dog shit.
Dog shit. Yeah, okay, yeah. So, commentary, Arn Anderson is now in the back. He's chasing down Disco Inferno. He's got a tire and iron in his belt, and it hits him once, and then he's arrested. Are we sure that Disco Inferno is facing Booker T, or is he facing retired Arn Anderson at the pay-per-view?
I don't know. I literally don't know, because it seems like this is the match they would be building to, because there's an angle for it, instead of Booker T just randomly saying in a backstage interview, I'm facing Disco Inferno. And that's like, what?
Yeah. Maybe Arn Anderson is facing him at the pay-per-view. I don't know. Then at the airport, we get oddly strange camera work of Flair and his company, like two business dudes, with limo driver Eric Bischoff. This was off. I don't know what to make of this camera work. It's so bizarre. There's like 4 cameras. One will snap to being like right in a dude's face talking, and every camera has different audio quality to it. Like one has crazy background noise, one is really low, one is really high. So weird.
Some of them have different like quality. Like the one up to the face is so clear, and the other ones are so kind of grainy-ish. It's what this was like. They gave the camera to like an art house student. Like, hey, go ahead, go crazy, experiment.
Shivani then tells us about the WCW Tag Title Tournament and the matches of the winner and losers bracket. And sure would like to see this tournament bracket, but as commentary explained to us, they have no fucking clue who's in it, who's replaced, and how many matches are left. I feel like we've only seen 2 matches.
I feel like we've seen more, but we've just forgotten about them because they weren't good, or we just weren't paying attention because they were just that bad or boring. The way they have this structured and the way they keep talking about it, it feels like a fighting game tournament, which is not good for wrestling because usually fighting game tournaments are like the rounds are like 60 seconds. So you're not getting a full 20-minute match before you move on to the next bracket. This is so bad because they talk about losers brackets later and they have to win out of losers brackets to get into winners brackets. I'm like, this is like Evo. Why? That's a terrible structure for a wrestling show.
It's double elimination, and you got to get back in the winner's bracket, but commentary doesn't have anything, like any idea of what's going on. We, the viewer, have absolutely no clue, like who's even in this tournament at this point, so who cares? Shivani informs us U.S. champion Roddy Piper will face Scott Hall at Super Brawl. So, I guess Hall has his title match that was taken away from him last week. For no reason.
Guess so. Why not? Screw it. Why not? Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Why not?
They don't care. Why should we? Jerry Flynn defeats Perry Saturn in 8 minutes. Perry's spending money on his dress. I hate this. Lightning Foot is the nickname for Chuck Norris's friend from Roadhouse here, Jerry Flynn.
That's why I said on his tights.
Yeah. Ref Scott Dickinson distracts. Jericho interferes. He fails, but enough for Lightning Foot to spin kick Saturn and pin him. This was lame.
Sucked, but I like how we had a crowd pan at the beginning of the show, and we see our boy Scott Dickinson just sitting there with the same expression and hat in the front row.
Are we getting Scott Dickinson versus Perry Saturn at the pay-per-view?
You know what, at this point, I kind of hope so. Something with this angle, please.
Kind of wanted them to drop it, and then we're just like, hey, remember that? Yeah, I guess.
Hey, life's a drag.
Life's a drag, yeah. He's got mascara on, so Perry Saturn's full in on this terrible, terrible shtick. Back to the awkward...
Just note that the stipulation was just dress, not mascara.
Yeah, just to throw that out there. Back to the awkward camera work in a limo with Flair, and they say, big match tonight of Bret Hart versus Will Sasso. Oh, it hurts. It hurts, Kay.
Oh, and the way they were talking about this, I was like, I swear to God, this is the main event, because they were hyping it up.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no.
We don't know what the main event is, but this is the only match we know that's happening tonight.
They're hyping it up. I'm like, oh, no, is this going to be what we're going to end Nitro on?
So I looked this up, Kay. There was a agreement with WCW and Mad TV that Will Sasso was supposed to have a match on Nitro. And the original thing on the books was supposed to happen last week of Bret Hart and Eric Bischoff versus Will Sasso and Roddy Piper. And then Bischoff goes, no, let's just do Bret Hart versus Piper. And then Mad TV got mad. They're like, hey, contract, Will Sasso's supposed to be in a match, so here we are.
Both are kind of terrible matches because, Roddy can't barely move and Sasso is a fat man who can also not move or wrestle.
Yeah, so glad I know that now. Goes through commercial, comes back, more awkward conversations, and conversation with Ric Flair is having... We hear none of this conversation that he's having he's just on a phone, and he's talking. What do you mean Arn got arrested?
I want you down there. Preferably you. We don't know who he's talking to, by the way.
No.
Preferably, I want you down at the precinct to get him out. Like, preferably you, but just send somebody down there. Yeah, just get it handled, man. I'll be there in 30 minutes.
Yeah. So then we get suspicious directions from Bischoff because he's driving the limo. So glad Bischoff has a limo driver's license.
Literally says, don't worry about it, Mr. Flair. I'll get you to your destination as he rolls up the window.
Yeah.
Nobody thought that was suspicious?
Idiots. Lucha match. Blitzkrieg, Juventud Guerrera, and Psychosis. They defeat the team of El Dandy, Hector Garza, and Super Colo. Juventud was the 5th best person in this match. He was god-awful. Blitzkrieg, I give him the benefit of the doubt. He was the worst person, but he's green as grass. Match goes 18 minutes.
El Dandy, man. Oh, I get to see El Dandy wrestle. I mean, listen, I wasn't ready for El Dandy. My pants were kind of tight as he came to the ring. Let's go. It's El Dandy.
Why couldn't
Bret
we
Hart
get Bret
told me
Hart
he's a
versus
swell
El
guy.
Dandy?
Yeah. I mean, listen. If I learned anything, Bret Hart's told me about El Dandy. He's a swell guy.
Well, guy.
Swell
Boring
guy.
chants happen from the crowd. Tenay tells us Rey Mysterio Jr. was beaten up by Lex Luger and the Wolfpack. He just thought he'd tell us this now.
Yeah, we didn't see. He even specified it wasn't on camera.
But he's beaten up, yeah. Luchadors eventually get the crowd sort of into this, doing some cool shit. Triple teaming dudes in the ring. They put the boots to everybody. That was funny. In the match, Hoovy misses a splash, hurts his knee. Larry Zbyszko, no shit, says his knee hurts because of the electromagnetic force with the ring doesn't mesh. And Shivani and Tenay just no-sell this. They laugh and mock him, as they should.
He tries to double down and explain. It's a simple explanation. Sure, whatever you say, Labisco.
Blitzkrieg hits a reverse Phoenix splash thing after a fun match. Psychosis shins his face by accident on the pin. Oops. We immediately cut to the Hot Blonde's hotel room. It's not Tori Wilson. We don't know this yet. It is Tori Wilson, but we don't know. It's Hot Blonde. Implying that they've been having sex in this room for a week straight.
Gotta stick like high hell.
It's still the POV cam, so we're still pornoing up. Then we get... So yeah, that happens. Then we cut.
She tells us to get breakfast for her.
Right. Then we cut and we get a spotlight from a helicopter following Ric Flair's limo. It follows them, then Hummers follow from behind, and a monster truck for some reason. The limo then stops in a field. It cuts inside the limo, and Ric Flair and these two dudes are like, "Why is it so bumpy?" And Bischoff goes, "It's a shortcut."
No, that happened before this.
Whatever. Who cares? They stop in the field. Bischoff bolts. Masked figures surround the limo. And Flair's limo guys hit the bricks. It's clearly Hogan because his mustache is sticking out. And it's clearly Kevin Nash with a stick. Flair immediately recognizes it's Hogan and the NWO in these ski masks. Nash with a big stick taunts Flair. And they beat the shit out of Ric Flair in a field with a helicopter cam and spotlights. This was so weird, and we get all this weird-ass camera work again, where it's flipping between four terrible cameras with different audio cues. It's the worst thing I've ever seen. It is so bizarre.
The weirdest thing about these camera angles is we get one that's constantly behind Hogan, so we see his shitty hair hanging out of the back in what is the most comical way I've ever seen. Because like you could tell his hair is balding at a certain level because his hair is only at a certain part of the mask.
Right.
Like it's only at the middle portion of the mask. You could tell it looks like it's stuffed in there. It looks awful. Hogan, don't wear masks, my dude. You look like shit. You already gave the game away. He already knows it's you. Just take the goddamn mask off. He chooses not to for an extremely long amount of time where I think he liked having the mask on.
So yeah, Ric Flair has been now beaten the shit out of in a field somewhere in Florida.
So why was there a helicopter following them? Filming all of this behind you.
Don't worry about it.
Okay, because I won't worry about it.
It's terrible. And all while this is going on, the arena has no clue this is happening. They don't show it in the arenas.
Oh, I think we cut back into the middle of a freaking match that was happening.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned this. WCW World Tag Team Tournament Losers Bracket second round match, I guess. Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko defeat Dave Taylor and Fit Finlay in 14 minutes, 29 seconds. Didn't know Finlay and Taylor were even a team in this thing. Mid-match, they tell us the finals will be decided tonight. Because they're going to have the finals at the pay-per-view.
Oh, no. The weird thing is after Benoit and Malenko won, this is why I asked you, hey, how far are we in this tournament? I think it was Zbyszko. I think it was either Zbyszko or Shivani that said they have to win 5 more matches on 1 more tonight 2 on Thunder, and 1 more at the pay-per-view, or 2 more at the pay-per-view, or something like that.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I re-listened. They do say that, and then they're corrected twice over, but they honestly have no clue, and neither do we.
Don't worry about it.
So don't worry about it. Nitro's terrible.
This is an awful episode.
So line of the match was Zbyszko saying Benoit needs to be one with the planets. This guy no longer cares.
Benoit is one with the planet. He said Benoit is one with the planet.
This guy no longer cares. Heenan joins later. He doesn't care. The crowd chants boring. Malenko taps Taylor out with the Ito special. I will call it the Ito special. And will now face Riggs and Bobby Duncombe Jr.'s replacement, Mike Enos. Or maybe
guys.
Riggs is Bobby Duncombe's. I don't know. Who cares?
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Replay the entire Kimberly carjacking segment in an ad for the prostitute Bruise Cruise. Shivani interviews the Nitro girls about Kimberly. Shawn Michaels' later wife cries. Oh, I miss her so much.
Like, I was convinced it was legit tears because she was choking up and everything. I was like, yo, do you think this is real?
Who cares? I laughed at Bobby Heenan. Are they going to dance? He doesn't give a shit.
And Shivani's like, that's the time for that.
Bret Hart defeats Will Sasso in 3 minutes, 44 seconds. Deborah Wilson from Mad TV accompanied Will Sasso. I guess by now we can assume Bret Hart has been phased out of the NWO.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Credit to Fat Sasso. He be bumping. Deborah Wilson had this like half shirt on. She's bouncing, no bra. Deborah Wilson swerved and turned on Sasso, hit him with a chair, even having a nip slip in the middle of this. Sharpshooter, we done here. Everything on Nitro has to be a swerve. Fuck off.
Yeah, this was shit. I think the best part of the match was the chick at ringside. I forget what you said her name was. She was just yelling obscenities. If you listen, she's just cussing and swearing. I'm like, oh boy.
So you just constantly, you just constantly hear an audio get cut out over and over again. Yeah.
It's hilarious. She's cussing, she's swearing. She has a freaking nip slip on TV, which, God, it had to have been by design. There's no way she wore that, the way she was wearing that, and how low she had it at the beginning. Out there wanting to be a nip slip by design. I just couldn't. I couldn't buy it.
So finally, the NWO with their Wolfpack music, whatever. They arrive in their Hummers with their ski mask on, enter the fairgrounds from the back. So the audience does see this. And it's Hogan Hollywood promo time. Can't imagine why that didn't catch on. Hogan Hollywood. Yeah.
Was it Hogan Wood? Whatever.
Hogan. Yeah. Hollywood. I'm sorry.
Hollywood. That's right. Hollywood. Jesus Christ. That's like a dad. He's definitely old man trying to be cool with the kids.
Yeah.
Hey, fellow kids. I'm Hulk Hogan. Want to go to Hollywood?
Yeah. Really funny. They send the B squad to the back. Like, get out of here.
Didn't understand entire promo.
Yeah, I didn't understand a word he was saying.
With a mask on. Because he had a mask on the entire time. Like, Nash and all of them pulled their masks up. Hogan is still cutting a promo in this fucking ski mask that's covering half of his mouth.
Hogan's promo comes down to he's going to put the title on the line tonight because he knows Ric Flair was beaten up in a field. Like, come on, Ric Flair, get down here. Crowd doesn't know any of that part, though. Who's texting me? What's going on here? I'm talking Nitro. No big deal. All right. Piper's music hits. According to Piper, he's still acting commissioner. Don't worry about it. Back to 1985 or Age in the Cage. Here we go, I guess. So they have a match. Roddy Piper defeats Hogan by DQ in 5 minutes. So to the shock of nobody, they have an old broken man match that ends in a shitty DQ, but not before a chair shot, choking, and strapping. But the DQ comes after Hall comes in with old Taser-chan.
Taser-chan, we popped for this. I think this is the only time we popped on the entire show. Taser-chan made a return.
Oh, it's comedy at this point. Old Taser's coming back.
Oh, of course it is. It's the only way you could cope with shit like this because it's so bad.
Yeah.
I don't get any reason for this. Also, I asked because he said, I'm the commissioner. And I was like, wait, what? When was he in the commission? And when did this happen? It's like, oh yeah, that happened 2 years ago.
Don't worry about it.
What? The crowd probably doesn't even remember that happened. Why are you referencing it? What the hell is going? Like, what is this show?
Oh, I can tell you what the show is. We're going to some random farmer in a field picking up beaten up Ric Flair with a camera that follows them.
It's got a chuckle out of us too because it's the most inconspicuous cowboy man with a flatbed truck picks up Ric Flair just randomly. Like, this guy is not a character on the show. He's not a wrestler in the back that we know of.
Florida man picks him up.
Florida cowboy man picks up Ric Flair, dusts him off a little bit, and puts him in the side of the truck. Puts him in the passenger seat.
Oh, yeah. I assume he's going to show him a good time as Flair mumbles, fairgrounds.
Fairgrounds.
We'll go to the fairgrounds.
Oh, we'll show you a good time. Got purty mouth, boy. Like, we weren't making, because, like, if you had took this out of context in a vacuum, this is the setup for like a rape scene.
Oh, absolutely it was. And we have no reason to believe he's actually taking him to the fairgrounds. No, we'll get to something else later.
Who this guy even is.
We'll get to something else later. But not before a lawyer tells us Scott Steiner is filing assault and battery and $1 million injunction against DDP from that parking lot assault last week. So I guess that match isn't going to happen, but it may be. Who knows? Terrible Luger Liz NWO mock segment against Conan or K-Dog. This camera work sucks ass.
It was the same segment. You remember when they did that original one after they beat them up the first time?
No, this is a new one.
This was the exact same one.
The same one?
Same one.
Oh, God. Don't worry about it.
Word for word, shot for shot. I was like, man, this is what I kept when I was watching. I was like, man, this seems like the same one. It's kind of familiar. I went and looked. It is the exact same.
Poor bastard.
Whole montage. Like, they didn't even bother to cut parts of it or change parts of it, even to the point where he's sort of referencing the finger poke of doom.
Oh.
Like, what?
I was writing my notes down. No wonder. Okay. All right.
Yeah, he referenced the finger poke of doom. Like, that happened like a month ago.
Don't worry about it. That's our phrase now. Don't worry about it. You know what?
Name of the show. Don't worry about it.
My fucking Raven. What about me?
What about me? What about Raven?
Come on in.
Leave me alone,
Come on, maybe you'd like to take
Mom, stop.
Jack off. Take
I don't want a ham
milk.
sandwich,
I'll put some
Mom.
chocolate in your milk.
I
You
don't
love
want
it that
chocolate.
way.
I don't like it,
You make
Mom.
that
I've never
ham
liked
sandwich
it. Mom, give me a club soda. Mom, the TV doesn't work.
There we go. I think this show deserved at least that Raven drop. All right. WCW World Tag Team Title Tournament Losers Bracket semifinal match. So I guess they haven't earned their way into the winners bracket. Oh, who cares? Why are we even discussing this? Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko defeat Mike Enos and Scotty Riggs, whose eye is totally fine now. 17 and a half minutes this fucking went. So they have a boring match that goes on forever. To commercial. We don't come back to the match. That's the new Nitro special. There's a match going on, and we have to go back to Farmer John at a gas station, cooling down his radiator with beating up Ric Flair. Flair, I assume, tries to escape the clutches of the Neon Cowboy. There's even like a shady like gas station hotel in the back, so I'm like, this Farmer John here is going to show him a good time.
Who knows? He might have already showed him a good time while we were watching the boring match.
Back to the match where I'm told wrestling is happening. Clearly the ref doesn't know because he counts a pin with nobody on Dean Malenko.
I'm going to get his shoulder up at 2.5 because he was counting a pin. Malenko had to have been pissed by this.
I have to describe this sequence because what happens is Mike Enos slams Dean Malenko to the mat and he's next to him on one knee, posing, arms in the air. He starts getting up. And this is the same ref from last week's Nitro, by the way. This is the same one. This ref looks down at Malenko. Mike Enos is walking over Malenko, and he starts counting 1. Mike Enos takes a step towards the corner. He's not even close to Malenko at this point. A ghost is pinning Dean Malenko. He counts 2. Mike Enos tags Scotty Riggs into the match, and the ref is about to count 3, forcing Malenko to kick out from being pinned up by a ghost.
I
What?
laughed so
The
hard at
fuck?
this. This guy has not to be like he had to get fired after this. There's no way he didn't get an earful from Malenko in the back. Like, what the fuck were you doing? Nobody was on him. Fuck the entire account, nobody was on him.
Oh my god.
It's like 1, 2, he had to kick out to nobody. Like, what is this?
The Wild Pegasus and Dean Malenko, who we just watched, have a great tag, or whatever. We watched Chris Benoit in a good tag match on New Japan. Now we're at cut to the blonde chick, POV, hotel porn. She wants me to talk to somebody for something, and then more sex time. I don't know what the fuck is happening with all this.
No. She wants me to talk to somebody about something for more sex time.
Yeah. Main event time for a match we don't know is happening. Buffer says, let's get ready to rumble, and announces nothing. Hogan and the NWO all come out again. Hogan does the same Flair come out challenge segment again. Michael Buffer got paid like $15,000 to do this. I want that job so bad.
He got paid money to announce that I'm gonna be shoved in the corner by the NWO.
I want that job. Give me $15,000 to do nothing.
Right. Also, with the hot blonde thing, I guarantee you, we're not gonna get a payoff to that.
What the fuck is happening on the show? Cowboy Steve delivers Flair, and Flair falls and stumbles to the ring. And the NWO beat down Flair and Malenko and Benoit again. Boy, I guess we really want to buy that pay-per-view now. What a main event that was.
This went up against that ladder match, mind you. Oh yeah, our competition's having a title ladder match as their main event. Nah, let's give them a fucking Hogan beatdown segment for the 3rd time in a row.
Unbelievable. Time for Guess the Card for Super Brawl 1999, Kay.
Game show music for this. We need something to lighten the mood.
Piper versus Hall US title. Hogan versus Flair world title. Booker T versus Disco Inferno, I guess. Could be Arn Anderson for all we know.
Yeah, right. Booker T might not even be on the card for all we know.
Malenko and Benoit versus Unknown for vacant tag titles. Maybe Hall and Nash. I don't know.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it. Rey Mysterio Jr. and Conan, maybe. Rey's beat up. Against Nash and Luger in a Rey's mask versus Liz's hair match. But they haven't even mentioned that really in 2 weeks. They just have played vignettes.
Same vignette, mind you, that it mentions it slightly.
Scott Steiner versus DDP, but probably thrown out from the lawyer stuff we saw earlier. And knowing the history of Scott Steiner ducking out of matches, they might just have an angle. And we assume some random cruiserweight title trios match. Kidman versus Hoovy versus Blitzkrieg is what we came to a conclusion
that's what I the Kid Man, who we haven't seen in like a week or two, right? I guess I don't remember.
And it's always Juventud. He's always just thrown in there.
And it's the Hoovy Man in there too.
Hoovy juice. So yeah, that was Nitro. That was the go home show for Super Brawl 1999. Look, 2 weeks ago we were laughing at Raven. We had a good time. It was fucking comical. It was so bizarre. And then this show was like, I laughed hysterically at this fucking helicopter following this limo and Spotlight, and everything else was hot garbage. Kevin Nash as Booker and his little clique can fuck off. This is terrible TV.
I'll just say this. I did mention last time that Nitro peaked. Oh, it goes down from here.
Oh, yeah. So, according to Kevin Nash, Kay, there was a Thunder before this that he is on record saying he completely solo booked himself. That is his vision of wrestling. Do you want to know what that show turned out to be?
Go ahead, tell me.
A bunch of nothing happening matches with no story and no progression. He just threw on a card. Yeah.
Super thrilling. Big sexy porterhouse. Not good Booker. Who knew?
So, whether he was alone and booking boring cards, or whether he was helping book Nitro, this was terrible. It is
How much longer we got with him? How much longer we got his ass booking?
I think until April.
Shoot me.
Maybe.
This is
closer we get to all this, we'll reveal the insider information.
Ooh, the dirt sheets from 1999.
Yeah. So yeah,
I'll say this. The last Nitro, objectively, wasn't a good Nitro. It sucked, right? It was a complete butchering and killing of Raven's character up to that point. It was a terrible POV, totally having sexy time with blonde girls segment. Some really shitty stuff with the B Squad. And I think Scott Steiner mentioned something there, and DDP creepily watching the Nitro Girls. As a show, that's terrible. And outside the vacuum. In the vacuum of us laughing at the meme that is Raven at this point, the hot blonde girl totally not having sexy time with the cameraman that we don't know who it is, and creepy DDP and totally didn't have sex with your wife, Scott Steiner. It was hilarious. It was great. Couldn't do that with this show. That's how bad this was. We couldn't even laugh at El Dandy long enough to enjoy the minute out of this show.
Nitro's bad. Bad wrestling.
Don't worry about it.
Stay tuned for Super Brawl in the next episode.
Don't worry about it.
Well, everyone, I hope you enjoyed. That was Wrestling Episode 74 from the Red Leaf Retrocast. Okay? See you next time.
See ya.